Aita for telling my no-contact sister that part of growing and being a better person is accepting that people don't have to forgive and reconcile with you. Growing up, my sister, now 22F, was the spoiled golden child of our parents. She got everything she ever wanted in life and became the brat nobody wanted their kids to be friends with. I, now 24F, even had friends who weren't allowed to come to my house because my sister was there. She would steal, try to make you do what she wanted, and would tell our parents if you didn't, would break stuff if she wasn't included, and then wasn't allowed to take over decision-making. It was a whole thing. We fought a lot as kids and we both said awful things to each other. But I grew to resent her more and more because of the monster our parents created. The final straw for me was my savings. My parents wouldn't let me open up a bank account because they didn't want me hiding money. They forced my first job to fire me because they were not okay with me keeping money to myself. And I knew they wouldn't help me with college or let me stay rent-free once I was 18. So I started being sneaky about saving. I babysat for friends' parents under the guise of visiting friends. I did errands for family, friends, or other people. It didn't allow me much in the way of savings, but it allowed me some. But then, like 2 days before my 18th birthday, my sister found and stole the money. And yes, I had it at home, but there was nowhere else to take it. None of my friends' parents were okay with me storing it at their house in case any went missing and I accused them. They were fine helping me get money, but they didn't want the responsibility of storing it, which I understand. My sister even told our parents I had the money and they got so mad at me. In return, I told my sister to fuck off and never speak to me again, and from that day onward she wasn't my sister and I didn't love or give a damn about what would happen to her. I left on my birthday and never went back. I was no contact from then until now. My sister reached out to me a few weeks ago because a relative gave her my number. She apologized, told me she was sorry, said she had grown up and realized how shitty she was, and she knew stealing, breaking stuff, getting me into trouble intentionally and trying to control everything was wrong. She said she loved and missed me and was hoping we could repair our relationship. I didn't reply. I read the text and I kept it on my phone, but I didn't reply. 2 weeks later she texted the exact same thing with an apology if I got the first, but she wanted to be sure. Then a few days ago she texted again and said she knew it was my number and wanted to know why I ignored her when she had apologized and was hoping I'd forgive her so we could have a relationship. I replied one time and I considered not doing this, and I told her that part of growing is accepting people don't have to forgive you or reconcile with you just because you apologized, and that sometimes the harm done can't be undone and doors are closed forever. I didn't reply after that. Then the relative who gave her my number and I exchanged some words because of this, and she told me it was the most arrogant way to tell someone you don't accept their apology. She said I should have been more accepting. And I told her that I didn't need to listen to this. Aita for it though. I'm not doubting myself, but I wonder if there are others who feel the same way as the relative. Honestly, maybe I should have kept ignoring my sister and blocked her number. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, it's great when someone can grow and better themselves, but sometimes apologies just aren't enough. Getting better doesn't erase the past, and sometimes too much damage is done for one party to want to revisit the relationship. Commenter 2. NTA, if your sister cannot understand your reply, then she still needs more growth. Makes me wonder exactly what she told the relative, because it sounds like another example of her not getting her way, then tattling to force you to give her what she wants. Same controlling behavior from childhood. If you don't want to hear from your sister again, I'd suggest blocking her, then pre-block her on socials to shut down all access options. As for that relative who gave out your number without asking you first, they definitely deserve the blocking treatment. Commenter 3. You don't owe people access to you just because they regret hurting you. Commenter 4. I understand your relative is hoping for you and your sister to reconcile, but I don't think your reply was arrogant at all. You don't owe your sister anything and your relative needs to accept your decision and back off. Stories number 2. Am I in the wrong for not wanting to get back with my ex because my brother said so? Hey everyone. I'm really trying to make sense of the absolute movie I've been thrown in. For context, I am 20 and I was dating my ex-boyfriend, 21, for 2 years. My ex is my brother's best friend from childhood, so I basically grew up with him. I always had a crush on him, but only did something about it after high school when we started dating. He was my world. We were perfect. There wasn't a day he wasn't by my side. I really loved him. 2 weeks ago I found out he cheated on me with a girl at a party. He came to me immediately afterwards crying and asking me for forgiveness. I shattered. Literally shattered like glass. I didn't even respond. I grabbed my keys and left him in my own house. My brother called me a few hours later saying he heard what happened and tried to comfort me. We talked for a while and I told him that I'm breaking up with him. He said that wasn't a good idea. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not a good idea that I break up with a guy who cheated on me. He complained that my ex was his best friend and he would be really bummed if I broke up with him. Like what? I told him I really didn't care. I didn't even think he'd still want to be friends with him after finding out he cheated on his sister. Anyway, I'm not getting back together with him. Don't get me wrong, I loved him a lot, but he cheated on me and that's a level of disrespect I will never tolerate. My brother and I are not on speaking terms and my mom is kind of on his side. She said that he's just defending his friend. But I'm literally his sister. There's a lot more that went on in between, but I don't want to make this post too long. Let me know if you want me to go into more detail. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA because of brother's actions, now he gets to share the award your ex already gets. You are 100% in the right and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Honestly, your brother's actions are worse than your ex's IMO. As a brother myself with a younger sister, that is a sacred bond he broke. I am so sorry you are dealing with this. I seriously hope he realizes he FD up and makes things right. Reply, I agree. The worst part is that this is absolutely not like him. We used to be super protective and all throughout high school he'd threaten to beat up any guy who came near me. I don't know what happened. Commenter 2. His friend is known, so you deemed safe. He didn't need to wear the mantle anymore. Playing the stereotype of an high school brother. Was it love or obligation? Reply, honestly I really did love him. I had a huge teenage girl crush on him all throughout high school, but I was scared it would get complicated or he'd reject me. I'd even write about him in my journal. It was really embarrassing. Commenter 3. So, who's your brother cheated on? You know kind stays with kind. Reply, you're not wrong. But honestly my brother has never been able to keep a talking stage, much less a girlfriend. However, if he does end up cheating on someone I won't be surprised. Update. Hey again. So some of you wanted me to go into more detail and some of you had some questions about my brother and how he felt about our relationship at first. I'll start with saying that when I told my brother, who is 22 BTW, I was breaking up with his best friend, he was angry. I mean like really mad. He kept telling me that I was trying to hurt his best friend and have him deal with a bummed out friend and whatnot. Obviously I was taken aback. He then went to go tell on me to my mom. My mom called me really upset. She said that I should stop working my brother's nerves and all kinds of nonsense. I told her the full story because obviously my brother didn't. I told her how my ex cheated on me. All she said was, oh, then hung up. Hadn't heard from her since. I won't lie, my mom has always favored my brother, but I excused it as a boy-mom thing. She's never neglected me or treated me badly before, she just had an obvious favorite. I've also never been one to do the most for anyone's approval. A few of you had questions about my brother too. Like if he was a cheater too, and if he approved of my relationship in the first place. For the first question, my brother is a loser. He's really immature, so naturally girls don't want to spend a lot of time with him. I've told him several times that he should grow up or he'll be single forever. So, to answer your question, my brother has never even had the chance to cheat. As for the second question, my brother found it awkward at first, but then he got over it. Plus me dating his best friend meant he'd practically see him 24/7, so I guess he didn't mind that much. He just didn't like the PDA and all that stuff. There isn't much to update on. My ex has tried and failed to contact me. All my friends have blocked him and no one is giving him any of my info. He's even tried contacting my boss. My brother is still insisting I talk to my ex. I continue to tell him to leave me alone. My mom is radio silent and honestly it's for the best. Will I get over this? Sure, but it'll take some time. I don't think this is something to get therapy over, but it'll need some healing. Thank you for all your lovely comments and messages. It's comforting to know there are people on my wavelength who understand that cheating is loser behavior and tolerance for it is even weirder. Comments. Commenter 1. Favoritism is mistreatment. Update. Hey again. I contemplated posting this for hours because it's just so much and so little at the same time. Edit. I want to preface this by saying that I'm 1000% not getting back together with anyone. I'd made my decision from the beginning and they can try all they want, but it's not happening. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented and messaged me offering support and advice. It really means a lot to me. I stalk this sub often, so the community means a lot. I spoke to my ex again through text to tell him to leave me alone and stop trying to contact me. I also told him to come get the stuff he left at my apartment. He went on to tell me that he needed to tell me something. That he said he needed to tell me the truth. I did not respond, but he kept texting anyway. He proceeded to tell me that he made everything up. The cheating story and everything. Obviously I didn't believe him at first, but then he went on. However, you guys need to understand that I really loved this man and have for years, so there's a part of me that wants to take his word for it. Anyway, he told me that he planned the whole thing with my brother. Like it was some kind of sick prank. Who does that? He called it a test. For what? He told me to call my brother and tell him to tell me the truth. Keep in mind that all of this happened in a day, by the way, so it was crazy. He went on and on about how much he still loves me and how he wishes he never listened to my brother. I felt physically sick. It felt like whiplash. A few hours later I called my brother and told him to open up, just to see his reaction and if I'd get a similar story from him. Surprisingly, his story was somewhat similar, except he made it look like he was just told to keep up with the lie rather than being part of the planning. He also told me that he was urging me to get back with my ex because he knew that nothing really happened and we would have broken up over nothing. I still think that is very stupid. I really don't know what to think. Who is telling the truth? Why did I need to be tested? Why the hell am I still in love with this jerk? A lot of questions and no answers. A few of you had some issues with my mom and they're all justified. From a young age I knew she had her favorite, but I am very likable, so if I wasn't getting her attention it really didn't bother me. I know that sounds cocky, but it's the truth. We talked and she told me that she hadn't known that I was cheated on until I told her and gave me a curt apology. I also don't know if she's telling the truth. She also told me that she scolded my brother for lying to her and hurting my feelings. As if that was meant to make me feel better. Anyway, our relationship will continue to strain anyway, so I'd rather not focus on that. Some of you asked where my dad is in all this. Unfortunately, my dad is no longer with us. He passed away 12 years ago and it still breaks my heart. I was always told that I was the apple of his eye and his world didn't seem complete until I was born. I carry him with me everywhere I go. I find comfort in the idea that he would have stuck up for me right now. I love him so much even till this day. I'm currently typing all this very late at night because I've been pondering all day. This has practically consumed my life and I'm sick of it. It also doesn't help that my town is relatively tiny and everyone from my graduating class already knows everything. I'm more fed up than I am sad, but I won't let it bother me for too long. But seriously, can whoever is controlling the TV show that is my life give me a break? Thank you all for reading. I really appreciate it. Comments. Commenter 1. The prank story is a lie that your ex and brother came up with as an excuse to get you back together. Stick to your guns and move on with your life. It will not get better, only worse from here. Commenter 2. 100%. Original story says he came to her crying. That's pretty good acting for a prank. Even if he was actually lying for a prank, doubt it. Why would you stay with someone who would manipulate you and play with your feelings like that? How could you possibly trust him again? Reply. That's exactly what I told him. Why would he put so much effort into it if it isn't true? Commenter 3. He's proven to be immature. On what planet is faking cheating a prank? It's to see if you have no spine and would take abuse from him. What a weak, immature child. This guy is not an equal partner. Hell, your brother sounds like it. Someone who loves or likes you wouldn't do that. You're my hero BC, you said nope and you're calling this shit out and you know how to see a red flag and run away. Gross. You deserve so much better. It will get easier ditching the red flag boys BC, you've started this boundary. And if they're a mate of your brother who is immature and spoiled and disrespectful, then it's probably a good sign to avoid them. Stories number 3. Wibta, if I don't tell my spouse the latest information I received about his biological parents, my 34F husband 40M was adopted as an infant. It was an international adoption with limited information regarding the circumstances of his adoption and his birth parents. His adoptive mother tragically passed away years ago and he does not have a relationship with his adoptive father. When we met, he had no interest in reaching out to his biological parents. He expressed disdain for his birth mother abandoning him and was quite angry. After his adoptive mom passed away, he started to toy with the idea of reaching out to the adoption agency. For years he mulled over the idea. He then expressed fear of rejection and stopped talking about it again. He went back and forth on the subject for a few more years. Each time he showed interest, I began learning more about how we could get information if he did decide he wanted to move forward. Late last year he finally decided he was ready. I submitted the necessary documentation for him at his request. The agency informed us that due to changes in adoption processes in his birth country, they may not be able to process his request and we might have to wait until September of this year to request directly from the government in his home country. We were pretty disappointed but decided to proceed and see what happened. In April they reached out again and said they could not fulfill our request. He was upset and a few days later he said he didn't want to even bother trying to search again in September. Today I received an unexpected email from the agency. They had been able to move forward. His birth mother returned the first letter to sender, a family member received the second letter and the third letter was hand-delivered to his birth mother in May and she never reached out. We can assume she does not want to contact him at this point. His birth father, not married to the birth mother and living in a different city, did initially seem open to contact. He exchanged a few text messages with the agency social worker. Unfortunately he decided that he felt bad but did not wish to continue communication. I know this will hurt him to know. At this moment in time, he believes we gave up on contact. Wibta, if I just don't tell him. I am torn. I feel he has the right to know but I fear what the rejection will do to him. I am so disappointed and upset. I knew this was a possibility but I had hoped they'd at least be willing to exchange a letter or two. Comments. Commenter 1. It's not your story. He deserves answers even if they are shitty. YTA. Commenter 2. I agree she needs to tell him, but I don't think she's an asshole at this point. Honestly OP, I think you've posted to the wrong sub. You don't need judgment right now, but I think advice on how to break the news from people who understand and can relate to your dilemma might be a good idea. Sorry but I just can't make a judgment on this one. I wish you and your husband the best. Commenter 3. As international adoptee who was adopted at infancy, thank you for saying this. If you hide this from him, be prepared for the consequences and reaction to possibly go nuclear. We do not want other people, especially people who were kept hiding info that we need to know or lying to us about our experiences/journey. Commenter 4. Info. Suppose that 2 years from now, he decides to try again, and at that time learns what you know now. Will he be thankful, or angry, that you held back the info? Reply. I don't believe he will try again, just knowing him and seeing him struggle with this for so many years. He won't be angry and would understand why I didn't tell him. However, I will feel guilty for not telling him anyway. So, I'm going to tell him there was an unexpected update and ask him if he wants to see it or not. I'll leave it up to him. Update. I told him last night and all is well. I let him know there was an update and that he could decide if he wanted the information or not. He ultimately chose to read the email. He was understandably disappointed and hurt by the information. I told him that I had struggled with whether or not I should tell him. I asked him if he would have felt better if I hadn't told him and he said he wasn't sure. He wasn't angry with me for considering withholding the information and he wasn't upset that I told him either. He said he could see why I struggled. I am glad I left it up to him because I don't think I could or would have been able to keep it from him anyway. For those of you saying I withheld this from him by coming here first, he was literally informed 10 minutes after returning home from work. I told him as soon as he was available. Comments. Commenter. Well, I'm glad he knows now. It would be much easier if he was in therapy to deal with it. Maybe suggest that to him so he can process this rejection. As for the birth parents, it could be that mom was young and didn't want a child, or her parents or family put pressure on her to give him up, so now she simply doesn't want contact. He's lived a whole lifetime without her, so he can live the rest of it with the right guidance. It could be that the bio father wanted to see or talk to him initially, but thought better of it for some reason, i.e. RPE incest, or simply because he knew that OP's husband would ask about the bio mom. They may have been in contact and she asked him not to reach out, who knows why he changed his mind. Stories number 4. Aita for not waking up a tourist who overslept and missed the day trip she paid for. Hi guys. I'm 21F, a Bulgarian tour guide who accompanies groups to Sicily. On a recent trip, one woman who was traveling alone mid-30s was consistently oversleeping. The first day after we arrived, we had a day trip to Etna and Taormina, for which we depart at 8 a.m., as we do all other day tours. I make sure that all tourists are informed of the departure times on the bus the day before and they also have my number to call in case they forget so I can remind them. They also all have printed out pamphlets with the schedule made by the travel agency that I hand out that has the time for departure on it. All of the group was on time, except one woman. She was late by 10 minutes, which, okay, maybe she got caught up in something and was late. I excused it, then mentioned to the whole bus in the mic that I do not tolerate lateness beyond 15 minutes at most in case of emergency like a forgotten possession, and that I must always be called and informed in case someone is running late. Trip went by okay otherwise. The next day this same tourist was late again, by 25 minutes. Almost an entire half hour. I called her twice to no answer and we were just about to leave without her when she came out running and got on the bus. She got lucky, as the receptionist of the hotel asked me about a missing piece of info on the rooming list and earned her some time. I reminded everyone again that I will not be waiting anymore for late tourists in the morning, and waking up on time is their responsibility. When we came back that evening, she asked me if I could make sure to wake her up on time. I reminded her a third time that I'm not responsible for waking people up. Everyone gets a printed itinerary with departure times, and I announce everything the day before. She kept saying, no, just knock on my door if I'm not out by 8:15, and I kept repeating, I really can't do that for everyone, please set an alarm. Well, on the day we were visiting Syracuse, she didn't show up. I waited 15 minutes after the supposed departure time, called her twice to no response, then left with the bus and the rest of the group. She called me in a panic about an hour later asking where we were. I explained the situation calmly. She got angry and said that I had one job and that I cheated her out of the money she paid to go on that day trip. She missed the whole day trip and was furious the next day. Later she told the rest of the group that I abandoned her and also called my agency, leaving a bad review about me. Aita for not personally waking up a grown woman despite warning her multiple times I wouldn't. OOP adds a comment with clarifications. Hi again guys. Some additional info compiled from questions people asked. What nationality is she? The whole group is Bulgarian including me. We leave from Bulgaria and return to Bulgaria together. Time zone difference between Bulgaria and Sicily is 1 hour 5 p.m. Sicily, 6 p.m. Bulgaria for anyone wondering. Hotel wake-up calls. I'm assuming she doesn't speak the language or English to be able to ask reception for it. Still could have asked me to do it for her, I wouldn't mind if it meant she was on time. Did she make it the next day? The next day we were returning to Bulgaria. The transfer to the airport was in the afternoon so thankfully no sleeping in. I'm not sure if she would have slept in if it was the morning. Reaction from my manager. Still waiting on it. I'm hoping they will side with me. My agency is very decent about this stuff so hopefully. Why did I post this? I know you guys probably think it's very obvious I'm NTA and there was no reason to post this, but I'm new to this sphere of work and overthink this stuff. This was my first time having to leave a tourist behind and I was anxious about how it would be received by others. Maybe it seems obvious to others but to me I was afraid I'd done the wrong thing and made a bad impression on the group. Posting this also resulted in people giving me advice which will help me improve in the future. Will she get a refund? Hopefully and 99.99% likely no. Does she have a sleep disorder accommodation? As far as I'm concerned, nope. If she made an agreement through the agent that signed her up for her to be accommodated it would have been in my notes in the folder I'm given that I carry with me at all times. Top comments. Commenter 1, this woman could have also requested a wake-up call from her hotel. Commenter 2, I'm an avid traveler. I'd be angry to sit on the bus every morning waiting on someone who is chronically late. Time is money, and she'd be wasting mine. If she's worried about hers, she needs to set an alarm. If she complained to other guests, I guarantee you they weren't feeling bad for her. NTA. Update. Edit. I talked to my manager today. I was nervous at first because I was already tired of this whole shenanigan and didn't want to spend ages defending myself, so I went to him first and explained the situation before he approached me. He told me, word for word, "Hun, I deleted that BS from my email as soon as I read it, lol. An icon. They'll remove the bad review." Stories number 5. She saw my poop bags and demanded I clean her lawn. I don't even live there. I was walking my dog through the fancy part of the neighborhood. Big lawns. Fancy cars. People who water concrete for fun. A woman stood outside in her yard holding a hose. She wasn't using it. Just watching her grass. As I passed she looked at my dog. Then at the poop bags on my leash. Then she said, "Can you pick up the poop on my lawn?" I looked, there was poop but it was old dry, not mine. I told her that. She said, "But you have bags, you're already out here," like I was a dog janitor or something. I replied, "I have a toaster." Doesn't mean I make toast for strangers. A guy across the street laughed loudly. She didn't like that. She snapped, "It's your job to keep the area clean." I said, "Lady, I don't even live here." She made a noise like she bit into a lemon. then stormed back inside. The guy across the street shouted, "Better check near the mailbox too," more laughs from a few porches. I walked off. My dog pooped 3 blocks later. I picked it up. But not for her. Never for her. Comments. Commenters 1. What'll you pay me? If it's a job, there has to be pay, otherwise it's exploitation or charity and I'm not a giver. My going rate is $150 half hour, cash, to clear a strange person's lawn. If you don't have the money, I suggest not offering random jobs to strangers. Commenters 2. You handled that way better than I would've. I'd be tempted to leave a lil toast on her lawn just for the audacity. But FR, good on you for staying chill. Commenters 3. I can confirm that this definitely happened. I was one of the 7 neighbors who heard this conversation and laughed. Commenters 4. Reminds me of the time I was walking my 3 chihuahuas and this lady pointed at some poop and said that my dogs made it. I explained to her that all 3 of my chihuahuas couldn't even make a poop 1/3 of the size of that and walked away. Stories number 6. Aita for cutting my family off after my stepmom cut my daughter's eyelashes. I 28F have a daughter 8 who we'll call Marie. Marie spent every other weekend with my dad 60 and my stepmom 70. They were extremely close as I was a single mom who worked 2 jobs and they watched her sew every day so I didn't have to pay for daycare. The last time she stayed over there she came back the next day with her eyelashes cut off. Marie had pink eye that developed overnight according to stepmom and Marie woke up with the sticky stuff on her eye unable to open it. Stepmom claims she used a warm washcloth but Marie came home with her eyelashes cut on one eye with a completely different story. According to Marie, stepmom got frustrated when the washcloth wasn't working so she cut them. Marie said she told her not to do that and stepmom didn't listen. Also told me she didn't push stepmom anymore because she had scissors to her face and was scared. I immediately called stepmom and she didn't answer so I texted her to call me when she had time, thinking I would just have an adult conversation with her. I called my dad to see if he could shed some light on the situation. He had no idea and was furious. She ends up calling me back and instead of talking to me she starts screaming at both me and Marie. Proceeds to call my daughter a liar, a terrible person, and delusional. I don't like her reaction so I hang up the phone. But I do question Marie if her story was 100% true. She didn't back down or change her story so I believed her still do and stood up for her. During the fit stepmom is throwing, she starts sending texts about how Marie should have blamed it on someone else and how awful of a child she is. I tell her I'm standing up for Marie and eventually block her number because she wouldn't leave me alone. The next day stepmom shows up at my house unannounced demanding that I force my daughter to talk to her alone and I didn't think it was a good idea but I ask Marie if she would like to speak to her. She says no so I don't force her. Stepmom proceeded to start screaming about how I need to tell her she has to and I told her no. I told her that she had no right to show up to my house unannounced demanding anything and to leave. After this she sends me a message on Facebook. I don't get on there much so I forgot about blocking her there saying she was just going to tell her to change the story and say someone else did it and she would back her up to keep her from getting in trouble. Pretty much admitted she was going to tell her to lie. I call my dad to tell him about this and he ignores me. After this I decided she was no longer welcome in or around my home or Marie. I end up having another conversation with my dad to tell him all of this, and I guess he believes stepmom even after I sent him screenshots with proof of everything. I tell him he can still come see Marie but stepmom wasn't welcome in my home anymore. He says no and says he won't see Marie if stepmom can't but is now running around to everyone saying I won't let him see Marie and started another fight with me over that which resulted in me having to block him too. Now that they can't reach me, they are both reaching out to the rest of the family and my in-laws to say I'm overreacting and I won't let them see Marie. Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, I would contact police or an attorney. This feels abusive. Reply. They did it for me. They called Child Protective Services on me. When CPS realized it was a false report they started an investigation against them. Commenter 2. Do you know how messed up and extreme it is to bring CPS into your life when she knows she did what she did? Sick NTA and you made the best decision by protecting your daughter. Make sure her school knows to take them off of the emergency cards too. Reply. They claimed all 3 of my children had no clothes, no food, and that my house was trashed. They took one look at my home and my kids playing together and asked why they were even there. Commenter 3. NTA. Try to see if you can get authorities involved, because your stepmom's behavior is beyond worrying and you might need her actions documented if she escalates. Your approach to parenting, asking your kid, believing her and supporting her decision is remarkable. Reply. Thank you. My kid isn't perfect and has lied about little things like if she cleaned her room or not lol. But I know when she's lying. This has been going on for a month and she hasn't changed a single detail of the story. I don't know any 8-year-old that could keep a lie going for that long. Commenter 4. Yeah, that's pretty illegal what she did. Not my child, but if my mother don't have a stepmom would react the way yours did. Guess who is filing a complaint? If she had apologized, that's a completely different story. Reply. All I asked her to do once I found out was talk to me. This would have ended so differently had we talked like adults, and she apologized. Stories number 7. Aita for telling my roommate no, she can't have the larger bedroom, put her desk in the living room, and use extra common storage for only $50 a month more than me. I'm moving into a new apartment in a few weeks with a roommate. The apartment has 2 bedrooms and the rent is $2,600. One room is a little bigger and has more closet space, and my roommate and I are trying to figure out who gets which room and how to split rent in a way that feels fair. Edit. Because some people are confused, I expressed initially that I thought a $100 difference for the room sizes seemed fair and that I was willing to take either room and wanted to hear her thoughts. This is how the conversation today began. She's saying she wants the bigger room, that it should only be $50 more than the other one, but she also wants to put her desk in the living room to work there. I already told her I'm not comfortable with that because I would feel like I'm disturbing her if I needed to cook or relax in the shared space while she needs quiet or is in a meeting. I also told her I think the bigger room should cost $100 more because it has more space and a larger closet. She came back and said she thinks the rent should only be a $50 difference and she still wants to have her desk in the living room, and maybe use more of the shared hallway storage than me too. To me that just feels really unbalanced and is way more than I would try and ask for personally. She's getting the bigger room, an extra separate workspace outside of her room and taking over more of the shared space, all for barely more rent. My 2 biggest priorities are 1, having a decent-sized room where I can study privately since I'm starting an intense dental hygiene program, or 2, feeling like I can use the shared spaces without walking on eggshells or constantly worrying about being too loud. I suggested 2 options that I think are fair. Option 1, she takes the smaller room, we split rent evenly, and she can use the hallway storage to make up for the closet size difference and put her desk in the living room. Option 2, she takes the larger room, pays $100 more or $50 more if I get the single parking lot spot, and the shared spaces stay neutral, no desk, we split the hallway storage equally, and everyone can use the space whenever. I'm not being stubborn about the money and I honestly would be happy to pay $1,400 and $1,200 if the common spaces were shared evenly and I had the larger room. I just don't want to end up in a situation where I feel resentful or like I don't have space to breathe. I've tried to compromise, but it feels like she's pushing for everything she wants without really taking my needs into account. Aita for holding firm to these compromise options and telling her no. Edit. Had to make a few minor edits because people felt that I had somehow demanded my roommate take the larger room and pay more right off the bat or something, which was not the reality of our conversation. Throughout the entire discussion I maintained on multiple occasions that any deal we came to, I would be happy to reverse and take myself, and I stated this with explicit clarity. I said this purely because it is how I was raised, that fairness and equality is an essential value and that trying to take an unequal amount from something at the detriment of someone else is not only disrespectful but immoral. I hoped she might see that she was not taking the same approach, and that things were uneven and a compromise was needed, but she does not have similar values. Comments. Commenter 1. Is it too late to look for a different roommate? NTA. Commenter 2. Your roommate isn't going to change. Every decision roomie will come with the same attitude. By the way, that doesn't automatically make her TA. It does mean you guys might not be the best match as roommates. Commenter 3. If she's using the living room as her work-from-home office, she's effectively taking over 2 out of 3 rooms in the house. I get it, it sucks no one wants to have their workspace in their bedroom, but that's what happens when you rent and you're in a share house. Bigger room, desk in that room for her, no extra cost. You smaller room and car spot permanently, no extra cost. You both have a decent benefit, though I'd argue the parking spot is worth more than a bigger bedroom. Commenter 4. NTA, did you by chance already sign the lease? If not, immediately find a new roommate, she will continue to try and take advantage. Stories number 8. Aita for breaking up with my girlfriend after she got me arrested. I 20M broke up with my girlfriend 23F after something went down last weekend that really made me look at her different. She's telling people I abandoned her over something small and that I wasn't there for her when things got tough, but I honestly think she crossed a line. We were out at a crowded bar with a few of her friends. While we were squeezing past a group of people, she accidentally bumped into this guy and knocked his phone out of his hand. It wasn't on purpose, and the phone didn't break, but the dude looked at her and was like, yo, you could at least watch where you're going. Instead of just saying sorry and moving on, she got defensive and snapped back with, maybe you should watch where you're standing. He wasn't even being disrespectful, but she kept going, calling him rude, telling him to shut up, just escalating it for no reason. The guy stayed calm at first and just said, I didn't say anything crazy. Just say sorry and chill. That's when she started yelling even more, and I stepped in like, alright, let's just keep it moving. But she turns to me and says, so you're really just gonna let him talk to me like that? At this point, she's drawing attention, still going off, and the dude is just standing there shaking his head. Then she pushes past me and gets in his face again. He kind of puts his hand up like, back up, and in the process, I got pushed hard. Now I'm heated. I got pushed in front of everyone, and she's looking at me like I'm supposed to handle it. I reacted. I shoved the dude back and it turned into a fight. Bouncers came, cops were called, and I ended up getting arrested for the night. The worst part? She left. Didn't call, didn't check on me, nothing. I got out the next day and the first thing she says is, you didn't have to take it that far. That's when I realized I can't be with someone who starts drama, hides behind me, and then disappears when there are real consequences. I told her I was done. Now she's telling everyone I left her over one little argument. Aita for breaking up with her after that? Or was I right for not wanting to be with someone who puts me in situations like that? Comments. Commenter 1. That's not one little argument. NTA, dump her. Block her and all of her friends and move on. Commenter 2. If it were me, I would walk away from a relationship like this. The way I read your story, your GF manipulated the situation and you to make it seem like she was a damsel in distress. Personally, the reasonable person is the guy who called her out and asked her to apologize for knocking the phone out of his hand. It seems like you allowed your GF to manipulate you into a fight, and that's not healthy for you or her. Commenter 3. My girlfriend did something bad, and when the person she wronged showed slight anger I couldn't handle the shame of being shoved, so I started a drunken brawl outside the bar instead of taking my clearly too drunk girlfriend home before she starts more trouble. You aren't really much more mature than your ex TBH, she walked all over you and instead of apologizing to the guy she clearly wronged you swung at him. Commenter 4. FYI, you opted to throw hands. You got yourself arrested by assaulting someone. Yeah, your GF was dramatic and an instigator and you ran with it and escalated things to the level of getting yourself arrested. Stories number 9. I found $8,000 inside a bra box when I worked at a thrift store and never told anyone about it. Back in 2021, I worked at a small thrift store in my town. I was in charge of going through the socks, underwear, bras, shoes, purses, and bedding. Additionally, we would collect brand new stuff and hold them back for a sale we would have 4 times a year with all the brand new stuff. We happened to get 6 or 8 brand new bras and one of my coworkers boxed them up for our sale. At least 4 months went by between the time we boxed up these bras and the next time I saw them again, so they weren't new, and if someone had noticed something was missing and came in asking for them back, we would try our best to find their items as long as we could. We never heard anything about them. A week before everything goes out onto the floor for the sale, we check everything over, make sure it's priced, and price them if needed. These bras in their boxes were something that needed priced and I pulled one out of the box. Behind it was a thick bank envelope with nothing written on it. I opened a desk drawer and put the envelope inside there. I grabbed it when I went on my lunch break, and it was full of cash. After counting it, I realized it was $8,000 and put it in my bag without saying a word to anyone and didn't tell anyone I worked with until I left there, and undersold how much it was by a lot, telling them it was a few hundred. I never heard anything about it and no one ever asked anything about the box, so I don't think the person that donated even knew they did. Part of that money was used to help me get a car so I didn't have to walk to work anymore. Comments. Commenter 1. There's always money in the banana stand. Commenter 2. If you handed it in your boss would have kept it so better you than them. Commenter 3. A lot of older people think bank failures and the Great Depression don't trust banks for good reason. They lived through some stuff, so they hide their cash around the house. They don't always tell relatives about these cash stashes thinking they will find them after they pass. A lot of times the relatives will just glance in boxes before donating them so if they don't see anything of value it goes on the pile. This is probably what happened, since the people donating don't realize it they're nobody that comes looking. To be real if they didn't try and sell the new bras or give them away to people they know they probably didn't need the money. It's also probably good that it actually went to someone that actually needed it. I wouldn't beat yourself up about it. Commenter 4. Honestly, if it sat there for months and no one came looking for it, that feels less like stealing and more like the universe throwing you a lifeline. Not saying it's right, but I get it. You used it to get a car and keep going. That's better than that cash ever would have done sitting in a bra box. Stories number 10. Am I overreacting for wanting to end my marriage after what my husband did during our break? I 25F and my husband 27M have been married for 2 years, together for 5. We married young, but we were both ready, emotionally and financially. We both wanted a big family. I got pregnant last year, and about 6 months ago, I had a stillbirth at 5 months. It happened after a fall. My husband slipped on the stairs, fell on me, and we both tumbled down. It was a freak accident. I don't blame him, but I was struggling not to at that point. And I had to be rushed to the hospital, and we lost the baby. The physical recovery was painful, and emotionally, I was a mess. I was grieving, traumatized, and mentally not okay. I asked for space. I told him I wanted to stay with my parents for a while to heal and process everything. I started therapy and encouraged him to do the same. I was gone for about 2.5 months, trying to recover emotionally, physically, and mentally. Eventually, I moved back in. We resumed therapy together. Things were still heavy, but I thought we were trying to move forward. That's when he told me very guiltily that while I was away, he hooked up with another woman, because we were on a break. I was shocked. Hurt. Numb. We are married. We weren't on a break like in some high school relationship. I went to stay with my parents to grieve our child, not to take a break from the relationship. I never once implied it was okay to sleep with other people. He never asked or clarified. He just decided that's what our space meant. To make it worse, he waited 1.5 months after I came back to confess. That tells me he knew exactly what he was doing. He hid it. He lied by omission for weeks. I left immediately. Booked a hotel for like 3 days, cut everyone off. I didn't want to talk to my parents or friends because I knew they'd try to convince me to forgive him. Right now, I'm staying with my brother for like 2 weeks. I've even stopped therapy. Everything feels pointless for now. He's been apologizing non-stop. Saying we can fix this, we can keep going to counseling, we can rebuild. He's even involved both our parents. Now everyone his parents, my parents is saying I should give him a chance. That he was grieving in his own way. That it wasn't cheating because we were apart. But I can't look at it that way. I feel betrayed. I think he made a choice. And I don't feel any desire to fight for this marriage anymore. Everyone expect my brother is making me feel like I am overreacting, that divorce is too far-fetched. Edit, honestly, I'm just now realizing he may have felt abandoned, and I did a poor job there. Thanks for pointing that out. We were still in contact, he never said it or in counseling, but again maybe he felt like he can't do that. I can't read his mind though. I was away from him too, but we both had our families there for us, so I never thought of it as abandoning him. Still, I feel things would have only gotten worse if I hadn't taken that time, and I don't think I'd change that. This does help me forgive him, not stay, and move on if I don't think of him as some sort of monster for doing this. Comments. Commenter 1. Nor, you were completely betrayed, and if you don't feel like the marriage is worth fighting for, then I certainly think divorce is something you do need to think about. I will say, and I want to say this, 1. Gently, 2. Acknowledging that you were in intense grief, and 3. Separate from the issue of him cheating on you, one does not justify the other. But you say you don't blame your husband for the accident that caused the loss of your baby. I have to be honest that what you describe of how you reacted does sound like a complete rejection of your husband and a pretty total lack of support for him. It sounds like you did step away from your marriage. Not by cheating. But, in a very complete emotional and physical sense. You left for 2.5 months, and it doesn't sound like you two grieved together or that you were at all trying to be there for him in his grief. I cannot imagine the pain for either of you, but I need to say that I can easily imagine that your husband was dealing with not only grief but horrible guilt. By himself. I don't know, OP. I understand that you were acting out of grief, but I think your marriage was broken not just by his actions. Commenter 2. I'm just gonna go ahead and volunteer myself as tribute. First, I want to acknowledge the fact that as the mother, the tragedy that occurred most certainly had a much deeper impact on you than it did your husband. With that being said, any decent man would still be crushed by this and would probably want to be there for their wife. They would probably want their wife to be there for them too. At the end of the day, you, as a couple, lost a baby. If I were your husband, I would be devastated by my wife asking for 2.5 months of space after we lost our baby. Your husband also lost a child, even though it wasn't in his body. Honestly, I can't even imagine my wife asking me for space after such an event. I get needing some alone time or time with family, but being completely absent for 2.5 months was honestly probably nothing but lonely and dreadful for your husband. Who did he have to support him? With the context provided, I think it's shitty of your husband to have hooked up with another woman, but it's also hard to blame him to the extent that you are. All you said is that you needed space and that you were going to your parents. The man just lost a child and his wife decided to up and leave for 2.5 months when he needed her the most. I get that what happened to you is horrific, but I just can't wrap my head around the decision to pop smoke for that long. As a guy, when I hear, I need space, and she's gone for 2.5 months, I automatically assume the relationship is over. What's the point of marriage if you're not there to support each other? To me, it sounds like you do, subconsciously, place some sort of blame on your husband for the tragedy and that you're using his infidelity as grounds to terminate your marriage, even though your reaction to the tragedy is, in my opinion, grounds to terminate a marriage. Flame me, Redditors. Edit. This has gotten a lot more positive traction than I anticipated. OP, if you see this, I want you to know that you are not a bad person and that it's going to be okay. Everyone handles grief in their own way. I cannot begin to imagine the tremendous grief that you probably still continue to feel. I genuinely hope that you and your husband both live long and fulfilling lives regardless of the outcome of this tragedy. Commenter 3. While he was definitely cheating and you're 100% nor in this situation, I'm frankly a bit shocked by some of these comments. This is not directed at you, OP. I will not presume to judge anything you do in this kind of situation. I hope you have a support system and manage to recover from all of this as good as possible, and you should definitely resume therapy if by that you meant you want to skip your own. Don't do that. Some of you are acting like it was only her that lost a child, not him as well. It was his child that died, too. So some of these comments shaming the man for not being there for OP in this hard time need to take a step back and realize that she left him alone for months when he was grieving too. Even though it's 100% harder on a woman that loses a child, some in here are acting like he would have been completely unbothered by him and it was him that abandoned OP, not OP going to her parents and leaving him to deal with it on his own. Some of you even say he killed her child. What is wrong with you? You don't know this man. Even though he did cheat on his wife, you're treating him like a war criminal. Stories number 11. My 25F boyfriend, 26M, of 1 year just told me that he wants me to pay him a rental fee for borrowing his car to visit my family. Am I wrong to be upset? Ordinarily this wouldn't be a problem. I would just take my car, but it is being fixed right now. This meant that in order for me to drive to see my family for Thanksgiving I would have to either rent a car or borrow someone's. Since my boyfriend was flying out to California for Thanksgiving and wouldn't be using his, I asked him if he would mind if I borrowed it. He told me that of course I could borrow his car. Nothing else was said about it until today other than some minor things. I texted him to thank him again for helping me. The way I worded things apparently made it clear to him that I was only planning to cover the gas I used, and he told me that he expected me to pay him a reasonable fee for using the car. Reasonable to him is $50 a day plus replacing the gas I use, so the visit will cost me at least $250 in addition to whatever the gas costs. It is his car, so I don't think I can really argue with him about this. I do understand in principle. I don't think being his girlfriend entitles me to use his stuff whenever I want, but I am hurt that he is being so stingy. We've been together for a year, it's the holidays, and my only other option was renting a car through a private company. I guess I would have hoped that he would have been more sympathetic, but maybe he has a right to expect that he be paid for use of his car. I don't know. I very rarely ask him for any favors and cover all of my expenses myself, so he can't say that I am using him or exploiting him financially. This has never come up before, so I have been taken off guard. Maybe I am being too sensitive. Edit, just so you guys know, I am already at my family's house. Sorry if that wasn't clear. TLDR, I had to borrow my boyfriend's car to visit my family. He wants me to pay him $50 per day for use of it. I am upset by this, but I think that maybe I am just being too sensitive. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. If he said you could borrow his car and now he's saying you can rent his car, he's changing the deal midstream and it's sorta weird. Personally, I'd conclude he doesn't really want me to use his car for that period of time and I'd rent one from a private company. He should have just told you up front he didn't want you to use his car. Reply. I even checked with him a few times to make sure it was fine. At no point did he mention that he wanted me to pay him. Commenter 2. That seems ridiculous IMO, and I would be pissed if someone asked the same of me. Well, if my significant other or a close friend asked it. I don't really get his motive. Is he trying to make money off his girlfriend just because he could? I don't see why, if you're paying for gas and obviously covering anything else that you personally do to the car, like if God forbid you got into an accident or spilled coffee on the seats or something, he needs some kind of additional fee. Your relationship isn't a business. This situation seems like some bullshit. You could try talking more to him about it, or you could refuse to pay the fee. I thought you were joking, or you could rent from an actual company and incur costs but avoid this weird power play. Reply. He's not one to joke, so I have no doubt he really is being serious. I would be interested to know why he wants me to pay. I'm not sure what he really gains unless he thinks this will discourage me from borrowing his property. Commenter 3. Maybe if you've damaged his property before or are irresponsible with stuff. I don't mean any offense to you, but that's the only thing I can think of without knowing more details. He sounds like a tool. Reply. Nothing like that has happened before. When asked if her BF makes other demands, if we do go out, we usually have to plan it around his sport team schedule. He also refuses to do anything that he thinks is a waste of money. No vacations, movie dates, bowling, etc. Update. And here is the TLDR, I had to borrow my boyfriend's car to visit my family. He wants me to pay him $50 per day for use of it. I am upset by this, but I think that maybe I am just being too sensitive. Hey, everyone. I know a lot of you have been wanting an update. I meant to post one way a few days ago, but things have been really busy lately. I didn't want to ruin my Thanksgiving holiday thinking about the car situation, so I decided to wait until I got back to discuss it with my boyfriend. I was really hoping that this was all just a misunderstanding, but unfortunately it was not. When I brought up the rental payment, my boyfriend said that he thought it was only fair that I compensate him for the use of his car. He asked me if I had a problem with that, and I told him that I did. I mentioned what some of you said about how I could have rented a car for less if I had known he was going to charge me. I also told him how I felt like he had taken advantage of me by only mentioning the fee after I had taken his car. One thing that one of you mentioned was that maybe someone had suggested it to him. I asked him about that, and he said that no one had said anything. He just figured that it would only be fair for me to pay for the use of his car. I did at least get him to see that the price he charged me was too high, but he didn't think he was wrong about the fee. We ended up having a larger conversation about how tight he is with money and some other things I mentioned in my first post. I didn't intend to break up with him, but after he still insisted on the rental payment, I just realized that he was not someone I wanted to be with. I did end up paying him, but it was $100 instead of $250. So that's the update. He has apologized and asked me to take him back, but I don't think I'm interested anymore. Thanks for your help everyone. TLDR, boyfriend was serious when he requested I pay him a rental fee for his car. We broke up. Final comments. OOP explains her ex being tight with money. Nothing to a point. I am perfectly able to and always have split everything with him, but even if I pay my way, he still would refuse to do almost anything that costed money. I don't need to always go out and do things, but even 3 to 4 times a month was too much. We're not even talking about a nice restaurant or an expensive trip, we're talking can't go to Chili's or go bowling because it's too expensive. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my dad and his fiancée how I really feel, sending my dad into a deep depression. I know the title sounds super bad but hear me out. Throwaway because some cousins know my main. I 18 am an only child. I live with my mom full-time, my parents are divorced. Some quick context, during my entire life my mom always picked up after me and my dad. They both worked full-time, but my mom handled breakfast, lunch, dinner, groceries, cleaning, laundry. What did my dad do? Mow the lawn, shovel snow, fix things like the sink if it ever broke. When I was younger I always loved my dad, 'cause he would do fun things with me. Take me to sports games, play with me in the yard sometimes, buy me McDonald's or ice cream. He was the fun parent, and my mom was the caring one. She always made me food, helped me in school, packed my bags, comforted me when I was sad and took care of me when I was sick. When I got older I started to realize more and more how much my mom did, while my dad would sit on the couch and watch TV or stuff like that. My mom asked me when I was quite young to help her out with cleaning etc., and I remember I would get mad at me when she asked. I didn't want to clean, who does? But one day after she had gotten annoyed I didn't even pick up after myself, I yelled at her to leave me alone. I was probably like 12, and that day I heard her cry in the bathroom afterwards. When I realized I made her cry, it clicked in my head that she was doing everything for us and Dad did barely anything. And I did absolutely nothing at all. It felt like I grew up super quickly over the course of a week, and I started helping my mom a lot more. It became a bonding thing for us, talking and helping each other out with cleaning and groceries, etc. My dad was still like the fun parent, would take me to games and all that, but I grew more and more annoyed that he didn't help out at all. I think when I was like 14 I once said to his face that he never helps out around the house, and he got furious with me. Yelled in my face and sent me to my room. My mom comforted me and told me to just let him be, you and I got this alone anyway. The few times he was dragged into helping he would always make a mess somehow, and it would end in an argument with him and Mom. I've realized now he most likely did a bad job on purpose so we wouldn't ask him for help. When I was 15, Mom found out that Dad cheated. He had been for like a year. They had the biggest fight ever, and my dad left us that night to live with his mistress and her daughter from a previous marriage. He came a few days after and picked most of his stuff up. I don't remember much how the divorce went, other than my mom being a wreck. When it was finalized, she honestly broke down even more. I fed her, helped her into the shower, held her at night. I've never seen her that bad, and if I didn't hate my dad for what he had done in general, I started absolutely despising him for what he did to Mom. Family from Mom's side would help us too, but it was mostly me since no one could really move in and stay with us full-time. I picked up a job at 16 to help at home. It took my mom maybe half a year to start going back to her old self. She grew up to be better, happier, and I had never seen her so full of life when she was with Dad. A month or two after the divorce was over my dad started pushing for me to live with him 50% of the time. I told him to fuck off basically, but Mom said I shouldn't shut him out completely. So I went to him every other weekend. He tried to be all nice to me and so did his mistress, but I hated their guts. The mistress, let's call her Hannah, tried to be nice to me but also bossed me around, and I basically ignored her. She has a daughter from a previous marriage who tried to bond with me, but I ignored her. Barely even a year after the divorce was over, Hannah got pregnant, and they had another daughter. Dad and Hannah have tried to push for me to be a big brother for them, but I couldn't care about them less. Now I'm 18, and I gradually stopped going to my dad's. I barely ever stay a night, I just visit, and my dad keeps trying to blame my mom for it. Hannah gives me more and more attitude and tries to use her daughters to guilt me into staying over, saying, they miss their big brother, you're so selfish. We had a big confrontation when I visited last. I stayed for 20 minutes before Hannah started trying to lecture me, so I just started leaving. Dad blocked my way and told me I have to grow up and leave the past in the past. He said I can't be mad forever and I'm acting as if I don't love him, and we're all family. That just set me off. I started screaming at him that I haven't loved him in years. I told him that he was always a lazy POS who acted more like a child than a husband to Mom. She always cleaned up after him, cleaned the house alone, washed his clothes, made him food, fetched him another beer even though the kitchen was 5 steps away. But all that ever came out of his mouth was complaints and demands. I told him he took me out to do fun things, sure, but that's not all there is to be a dad. He was never there for me, helped me in school, drove me anywhere or picked me up, comforted me. And then he did the worst possible thing. After years of standing on my mother's back and using her, he went and fucked a random woman and absolutely broke her mom. I screamed about how a kid had to pick up the pieces of his own mother cause his father was such a POS and useless garbage. I felt nothing for him, in fact I hated his guts still, and I hated his mistress too. I turned to Hannah and told her that she means nothing to me, she has no authority over me, I don't give a shit about her or her kids. I told them both I wish nothing bad at their daughters, but Hannah is a horrible person for filling her kids' heads with lies about how I'm their brother when I've repeatedly told them I'm not. Then I looked my dad in the eyes and said, my father died to me years ago, and that man wasn't even a good dad. You're just a stranger to me. I pushed my way past him and left. When I got home I told my mom everything and cried. She hugged me and told me she understands my emotions but wishes I wasn't so aggressive, for my own sake. My mom has never said a bad thing about my dad despite everything, and when I would curse him out she always told me it wasn't worth it. My dad and his new family were silent for a few days, but then Hannah started bombarding me with texts about how I was a horrible son and how my dad hasn't stopped crying since. I know he always wanted a son and wanted a close bond, but he's failed me as a father and I don't care. But family from Hannah's side I've met like once or not at all have also started messaging me saying I was out of line and everyone makes mistakes. But I don't think it's a mistake, I genuinely think my dad's a POS and I don't owe him anything. But I guess all the hate from so many people has me doubting myself, maybe I should have just left without a word. So yeah, Aisha. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you are not responsible for his feelings, but as a parent he sure as shit is responsible for yours. Maybe you shouldn't have raised your voice, but it sounds like he never would have heard you otherwise. These are the consequences of his own actions. He's shown you how not to be a man. Take those lessons and build something better. I would encourage you to not cut off your little sisters completely, if only to show them that they can strive for better themselves. But maybe approach it in a way of, maybe you take them to the park, a movie, or ice cream every couple weeks. But make it clear that you're only there for them, not your useless father and his home-wrecking rear. But you are not responsible for the two jackasses' feelings or to appease their guilt. You're also not responsible for their children, and are not obligated to be in their lives if you don't want to. However, you've seen how he's failed as a father and had to deal with the fallout of that yourself. I'm sure you've wished that there was some way to soften that blow for yourself. Maybe you can soften the blow for them when they're eventually let down by him. Oh, and block all of her family. They are nothing to do and clearly are lunatics if they think it's acceptable to message a barely adult about family dynamics they have no part of. Sorry I'm old, you seem like a good kid with a good head on his shoulders, but 18 is still very young. Take what's helpful here and leave the rest. Good luck kiddo and keep your chin up. Commenter 2, NTA op. Your father created this mess and now he has to live with the consequences of his actions. I would block numbers of everyone who is supporting him as you don't need their negativity. I would also suggest counseling of some sort, not for anyone else but yourself. Commenter 3, FR this is the best take 100%. Like IDC if he's crying now, where was all that energy when OP needed a real dad? Dude made his bed now he's gotta cry in it. Commenter 4. And I would tell his side piece and her flying monkeys that any further harassment from them will lead to you seeking a restraining order. Commenter 5. Hannah's a POS too. Both of them are. As a homewrecker, her and her family have absolutely no claim over you. They are not biologically related to you. You owe her and her family absolutely nothing. You owe your dad nothing either. He made his choices. Update, AITA for telling my dad and his fiancée how I truly feel and sending my dad into a deep depression. Some people questioned if I'm really 18 LOL and I get that. It's not like I wrote this text to my dad out in 10 minutes and sent it. I spent an hour writing it and my mom helped read it and let me know if it was good. I've always liked books and reading as a kid. My mom never baby taught me so I started speaking proper sentences really early, she always brags about that LOL. Anyway thank you, this is the last from me. Have a nice life. Hi, my first post got removed cause I tried to edit and update in the same post. But it became too long and was removed by auto-mod. I asked if they can restore it but I don't know. For those who commented or just read my first post, I know it hasn't been long since I posted but I quickly got so many NTA and people who agreed with me that I acted pretty fast. I wrote out a long text to my dad that looks like this. Hey dad, I know what I said yesterday was very harsh but I'm not apologizing for it. Growing up you made it clear what a partner and husband shouldn't be. Even though mom and you worked the same hours, you were always entitled to your alone time and your rest while she was left to pick up after the whole family. I realized at a young age that mom needed help, and every time I picked up your old socks or put your dishes away I got more and more annoyed at what a lazy POS you are. A 12-year-old did more housework than his father, let that sink in. You went and did fun things with me, I acknowledge and did appreciate that. But that's not all there is to be a parent. I needed you other times, when I was sick, sad, stressed, needed help with homework, or even just talking to you. I know you always wanted a good father and son bond but we never actually talked. Not small talk, proper conversations. I honestly feel like you don't even know who I truly am. But when I went to you with anything, you told me to go to mom because you had a long day at work. I hope for your new daughter's sake that you start picking up your shit after yourself. I can't stand Hannah but I somehow also hope she doesn't get stuck in the loop of scrubbing your back and holding your spoon when you eat, never allowed to ask for a favor and rest. You need to tell her to get her family to stop harassing me about this, or I'm blocking you all, you included. Hannah has no authority over me and I have no respect for her because she slept with a married man. She also is not entitled to a relationship with me. I've always tried to be polite but not welcoming because I don't see her as anything other than your mistress. She needs to get that through her head. And like I said, I will never wish anything bad onto her daughters, but I am not their family. You filling their head with that BS is only causing them harm. Get that through your head. If you're unhappy in your marriage, you either try to work it out, go to therapy, or split on whatever terms. You don't cheat on your partner like a scumbag. It doesn't matter how you felt for Hannah and Mom at the time, you should have split with Mom before pursuing Hannah. I'm fucking 18 years old and even I know that. If the texts don't stop today, I'm blocking every last one of you. I'm already blocking Hannah's family, but I'm keeping you and her unblocked for whatever reason. This is not me forgiving you, don't think we can work through this. Because we can't. I'm not visiting you for a while, and if I ever want to again, it will be on my terms. This is not up for negotiation, and again, if you try to pressure me or guilt trip me, I will literally just never speak to you again. I hope you go to therapy and get fully torn down so you can build yourself up to be someone worthy of respect. Because right now you're not. Now leave me alone. After like 3 or 4 hours, Dad responded, I understand, and nothing else. The random texts have stopped. I don't know. I sort of feel free but also sad. I'm not burning the bridge fully, but I'm also done with their BS. So yeah, that's where I stand right now. Thanks for listening. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're doing what's right for you, NTA, and I'm proud of you. Commenter 2. Honestly, OP, the way you were able to articulate your feelings and thoughts so clearly and handle all this situation while being freshly 18 is impressive. You showed more maturity than both adults, your cheating father and his homewrecker of wife. You'll be okay without them from now on, I don't worry for you. It's time for your mom and you to enjoy some happiness too. You have a lot of beautiful things coming ahead. Your father, his mistress and their failing family and marriage is not your issue to worry about anymore. Best of luck and take care of you. Commenter 3. He shows incredible maturity because he was forced to grow up at far too young of an age. 12 years old, this poor kid was forced to realize his father was a POS, and if there was going to be someone for his mother to rely on and not be sad, it had to be him. 12 years old, and he took on the emotional and physical burden of a husband or man of the house. The absolutely enormous burden he took on would make almost anyone into a very thoughtful, mature person for their age. It's so unfair, and I hope that otherwise, Opie had a great childhood with his mother to make up for it. My guy deserves only the best. Commenter 4. You can't hear me, but I'm applauding right now. That was honest and perfect. My very best wishes to you and your mom. Commenter 5. Your mom did an excellent job of raising a good human being. Commenter 6. You hit your dad between the eyes with some truths he wasn't ready to hear. He saw the fun stuff with you as being a great dad, but the truth is, he did the bare minimum. You handled the cheating very well by telling him he should have ended things with your mother prior to getting with another woman. You called him lazy, a POS, a failure as a husband and a father. And the clincher was when you told him you didn't respect him. Then you went for Hannah, her morality and having no respect for her either. My guess is that she promised her daughter she was getting a big brother and the little girl was looking forward to it. You weren't mean, but you were very clear about where you stood with that. Too often cheating couples believe that once the dust settles, the chaos and the hurt they've caused should just go away. Leave the past in the past. Easier for them maybe, but not for others impacted by their betrayal. You did well, OP, hopefully your dad will do the work it will take to become a better person. It's up to you to decide if it's enough. Stories number 13. My 3-year-old brother's dad, 18M, was raped by a friend's older 20 at the time sister when I was 15. At first I thought it was cool that an older girl would flirt with me and get touchy. But then it went too far and I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't want it. I tried to stop it, but apparently she doesn't take rejection well. She said she would tell her dad and brother that I was sexually harassing her and I was afraid of losing my friend or her dad coming after me or something. So I let it happen. She didn't use a condom. I didn't suggest it, I wasn't even thinking about it because I was just scared tbh. If she would have listened if I said anything anyway. But she ended up pregnant. When I found out, I was afraid she would just tell everyone that I forced myself on her because that's what her original threat was, and obviously you can't really hide a pregnancy, so I thought she'd have an excuse like that. I couldn't even keep it a secret for a day because I was so terrified. I broke down in my mom's arms and told her all of it. I was afraid she wouldn't believe me. Because what teenage guy wouldn't want to fuck an older woman? I never told anyone because I knew that's what they'd say. Thankfully my mom believed me and she said she'd talk to my dad for me. That part was even scarier, but at least I didn't have to tell him myself. He was pissed but not at me. He believed me too. I got really lucky. His sister told everyone that we had sex, didn't admit to raping me, and didn't claim I raped her, thank God. But I told my friend the truth. Partially because I just couldn't hide something that painful from him when it involved his family, and partially because I was afraid he'd be mad at me for fucking his sister, so I wanted him to know what really happened. My parents and their parents had a talk and apparently it ended up being a big fight. My parents wanted to press charges against her for raping me. Her parents didn't believe she did. But hello. Even if it was consensual, I was 15, so legally it wouldn't be. I was afraid of filing a report, but I did it anyway. The whole experience was terrifying. She didn't get convicted until a year later. She got 4 years. The baby was born before then obviously, and she already wanted nothing to do with him. My parents said it was up to me whether I wanted to keep him or give up for adoption. They said I was already forced into enough and this would be my decision. I still can't explain why, but I wanted to keep him. Why would I want to keep a baby conceived during my rape? But I did. I think she took enough from me, and I didn't want to lose him too just because his mother was horrible. I chose to see my son as a blessing. The only good thing to come out of something so terrible, but I knew I wasn't ready to be a dad. I love my son, but I didn't think I was enough for him. I knew I'd have my parents to help, but it was scary to think of a whole human life as my responsibility. My name still went on the birth certificate because I couldn't get myself to renounce him as my son completely. But my parents and I agreed that they would raise him as their son/my brother until I want to tell him the truth. Now he's 3 years old. Nobody knows he's my son except my family, and my rapist's family. I'm still friends with her brother. He's my son's uncle and he wants to be in his life. He loves him almost as much as I do. I might be in love with him, but that's irrelevant. Nobody else knows because I didn't want everyone knowing I was raped, nor did I want them to assume I was irresponsible and talk shit. But I think I want to tell my son that I'm his dad soon. I think it was the best at the time to let my parents raise him, but it hurts that I'm not the one he's calling dad. I'm worried I'll confuse him though, so if I should. He's 3, is that young enough that it'll be easier to tell him or more confusing? Should I wait until he's older? I haven't told my parents I'm considering this yet. But they said he was my son and it would be my decision if I told him, so I'm hoping it goes well when I tell them. Me and my friend my son's uncle have an apartment together, and my son comes over often. He's with me whenever I'm not working or in class. I'm in my first year of uni and his uncle watches him frequently as well. I never thought my life would get this complicated. But he's worth it. Comments. Commenter 1. We're just gonna ignore the "I might be in love with him" part. Anyway. I hope you and your son have a good life together, and I pray you never have to see that woman again, even when she's released. Reply. I don't really know what to do about it, so I just avoid thinking about it for now. Commenter 2. Bro dropped a fun fact. But I hope OP can recover. I mean, the unfortunate part is if he's close with him, that means he might be close to his rapist forever. Reply. He wants nothing to do with her. I didn't tell him to cut her off and I would have understood if he didn't, but he says he can never look at her the same way again. Especially because she never seemed sorry or even pretended to be. Commenter 3. Tell him now. Kids are resilient. Worst case is he'll be confused for a while, but he won't think you were lying or misleading him. Tell him later and he will 100% see it as you lied to him. It will break whatever trusts you've built and may lead to resentment. Tell him you are his dad. It's the "what happened to mom" part that can be saved for later. Reply. I will tell him now. I'm worried he'll wish I was actually just his brother someday though. I mean, I'm just a stupid kid. Am I really capable of raising him better than my parents have been? I do my best to be responsible in all aspects of my life, but I still worry it won't be enough. Commenter 4. Do not wait for too long, OP. This is also my case, except I don't know the story of what happened. I am also embarrassed to ask because my mom is a lesbian. She's more manly than I am, lol. In our family, I was raised by my grandparents. They were introduced as my parents. My mom was my sister and I still call her Ate or sister in English. I didn't feel loved by my grandparents and my mom was emotionally and physically absent during my crucial years in childhood. She's present now, but I feel like she's somehow angry with me, maybe because she reminded me of what happened to her. Up until now they didn't tell me the truth, I just know it since when I was in 3rd grade. I really wish they told me when I was a child, and I really wish I am closer to my mom. I am 22 turning 23 this year, so I am really embarrassed to ask now. Reply: thank you for sharing. That's a helpful perspective. I'll tell him soon, and I'll make sure he gets all the love in the world from me. Stories number 14. Not attracted to my husband. I 55F have been married to my husband 59M for 26 years. He retired 7 years ago, and I still work FT. He does nothing around the house and takes care of none of the mental load finances, caring for our disabled child, etc. So I handle everything. That's one issue, but his hygiene and appearance have gone downhill also. I'm no beauty queen, but I care about my appearance and am clean. He stopped brushing his teeth, had to have them all pulled, and now wears dentures. He has a beard, which I don't mind per se, because he's always had a beard. But this one has grown out of control, has no shape, and is just shaggy and messy. He doesn't shower regularly, about once per week. He will shower when he wants **x thankfully. He lost a lot of weight, the whole teeth thing, and has never bought new clothes, so his pants hang on him, he just tightens his belt. Most of his clothes have stains and holes in them. In a nutshell, he looks like he rolled out from behind a dumpster. His SX drive is higher than mine, that whole menopause thing. But the thought of having SX with him is honestly revolting. He's not a big talker, and when I've asked him to clean up his beard or shower regularly, he says no and gets defensive. I turn down **x all the time because I cannot stomach the thought. I have no idea how to approach this because he shuts down or gets defensive. Says he likes how he looks, so that's that. I'm not asking for a full makeover. Shower, get some new clothes that fit, and clean up the beard. Any thoughts, comments? Commenter 1. Write him a letter. Tell him you love him if you do. Tell him this with care, empathy, openness and grace. Don't talk. Write. Allow him to respond. Reply: this is a good idea. I do love him, I think. Otherwise I'd have left. I care about him, but like another commenter said, I don't need another child. I do want to be his mom. Commenter 2. Obviously, there's no excuse for your husband's behavior or comportment. Without knowing anything else other than what you report above, your husband sounds like he's depressed. And because he's depressed, he's not able to function in some basic ways, such as personal hygiene. And based on everything you discussed, your revulsion to the idea of sex with him is completely understandable. It sounds to me as though your husband would not be interested in any sort of couples therapy, which is typically the way people address the sorts of issues that you are dealing with. Nor would he be interested in therapy for himself. Under the circumstances, I would humbly recommend that you yourself explore some sort of talk therapy for yourself, to help you untangle your feelings about all this and to come to some sort of decision about whether you want to preserve your marriage. I hope that's helpful. ETA. Prior to my own retirement several years ago, I took a retirement course in which the instructor said that a person needs something to retire to. Personally, I have no trouble living a completely unstructured existence in my own retirement. That may be because during my multi-decade career, I had a very intense and unrelenting job. Your husband may enjoy fishing, but it may not provide him the purpose that he once enjoyed when he was working, and which presumably gave him a lot of fulfillment. Reply: Rye helpful and I agree. I do think he is depressed but won't address it. If nothing else, I should talk to someone. Commenter 3. So, what does your husband do all day? While I admit that my first thought is, get rid of the whole man, 26 years is a long time to be with someone. Has he always been like this? Could it be he needs to be evaluated for depression? If he's always been like this and now it's just gotten worse or you've just gotten fed up with it, then I would try marriage counseling as a last-ditch effort. If he's not interested in that and not interested in changing after you have a heart-to-heart and lay all of this out, then I would seriously consider seeing a divorce attorney to see what your options are and what life would be like for you without someone who doesn't seem to add much to your life at all except more burdens. Reply: he fishes. When he isn't fishing he sits in his man cave garage, playing games on his iPad and drinking. Anytime I try to discuss, he gets defensive, starts yelling and then shuts down and won't talk. He was more helpful when the kids were younger, and he kept himself neat and clean when he was working. It's gotten progressively worse the longer he's been retired. I'm open to counseling and I'll bring that up again. Stories number 15. My 27F fiance's 25M little sister allegedly wrongfully accused him of SA, but something isn't right. Some quick background: we've been together 2.5 years, and have been friends 15 years. We used to be neighbors and I was best friends with his older sister, so I know his family pretty well. They have 4 adopted siblings that came into their life shortly after we had met. I am 27F and fiancé is 25M. His baby sister is one of the adopted kids. Everyone's always said they were close. I noticed it was a little weird when I moved in with his family for a bit, but I never paid it any mind. We got pregnant in March of last year and she was pretty unhappy about it. About 2 months later, 16 at the time, she announces her pregnancy. Her boyfriend lived with us all at the time, so it didn't really come as a surprise. We got close while we were both pregnant, bonded over everything despite our 10 years age gap. Both of our babies ended up in the NICU, and it was after we both were home that things started shifting noticeably. Her attitude changed towards everyone. She started drinking, dressing differently. It's been about 6 months since her kid was born, and she is a completely different person. She asked to come and live with me and my fiancé a few months ago, and we told her that she could when she was 18. She stopped coming over. We visited his family multiple times in the last few months. I noticed their behavior towards me had changed and literally asked them if I had done something to upset them, and they all told me no. I asked my fiancé if he still loved me because he couldn't look me in my face. And when he did, something just looked off. 2 weeks ago, the sister packs up and leaves to go live with her other 2 blood siblings, leaving the youngest. She apparently went to her sister who works for CPS and said that their adoptive mother was abusing her. They came up with paperwork and everything, and they said they signed it because they were too scared to fight it and lose the youngest kid. Now 5 days ago, my fiancé comes to me and asks me not to get mad. Please, please, please don't go fighting anybody, and please don't yell at me. I'm like, okay, why are you being weird? He tells me his sister and younger cousin 18F have come out with accusations against him. His sister said that he did something, but allegedly refuses to specify, and his cousin said he sent her a dick pic on Snapchat. These allegations against him happened about 2 months ago. And I just found out. I was at their house, hanging out with them and my kids, planning our wedding. I hung out with that sister and her baby. Nobody told me fucking anything. Apparently they were all scared I would leave him and whoop on his sister. I'm talking to his mom yesterday and she mentions how they had him stop by on his way home from work a month ago to apologize to his cousin and sister for what he had done. My uncle and dad made me, is what he said. His mom also mentions that the whole time he's apologizing, the sister had both arms wrapped around his waist and her face in his chest. She goes, "It's okay," with a straight face and walks back inside. I don't why, but this infuriates me more than the rest of what's going on. I don't understand why she would be around us so much if he had done something. And why she'd wait 10 years to speak up. Or on the other hand, I don't understand why he'd keep it from me as his fiancé, and also why he let her grab on him like that after accusing him of something so foul. He and his family all say it's a lie. His cousin literally got caught fucking her brother and they had to be legally separated, so I don't know how valid her word even is. Also, he doesn't have Snap or her number. And his sister just lied on his mom too, so I don't know. I just don't know what to think. Please help and don't be too harsh. This is really hard on me as it is. Sorry, it's a big and kind of confusing read, so I can't do a TLDR. Comments. Commenter 1. I was sexually assaulted by my older brother. My parents didn't want to face the situation even after he admitted it. They did everything to keep me quiet, and well, it worked. If there's any indication or intuition you're noticing, I'm afraid that there is probably a good reason for it. Long story short, when both my parents had passed, I actually tried to hug him. Disgusting, I know, but I was feeling extremely alone in the world. I've always had hope that somehow we could be normal. Her hugging him could be her feeling guilt for having told on him. Also, my brother tried to make it out to me that during the abuse he did it because he loved me, so this topic can be very confusing for the victim. He was very violent outside of the CSA. Reply. I'm sorry that happened to you. Maybe it did happen then. I just don't want to see it that way. I'm thinking about taking more time to look into it and figure out what the truth is, but I don't want to further traumatize the girl if it's true. Commenter 2. The situation sounds very fishy. Your sister and family's behavior is weird. However, it's very common for families to all agree the accuser is lying to protect the status quo. That's not unusual. All of sister's behavior towards your husband does not suggest that it did or didn't happen. It does suggest an enmeshment there, but it could be for any reason. It could be what's caused her to lie, or it could be because he's groomed her from being young. Things she's done, like asking to live with you, the hugging during an accusation, having a baby so close to you after being original upset. These aren't facts and can't prove anything one way or another, but they certainly don't suggest that nothing happened. Her obsession with your husband could have caused her to lie. However, here's the reason I think he might be guilty. It's very strange a cousin also claims this too, and the most unusual thing is that he apologized. I'm sorry, but I don't care what my parents felt like they had to sign. I would never ever, and I think most men would agree, to apologize for saying someone I did not, especially my relatives. That's the most serious accusation ever, and it will stick with you for life, and everyone will think awfully of you. Most people who do actually commit the act never apologize. Think about that. Sorry. If it didn't happen and nobody believes it did, why was he pressured by their dads to do it? If it didn't happen and the apology had to happen for some reason I can't make sense of, then why did he hide it for so long? It seems more likely that he's apologized for something he did do and then only told you once the dust had settled and he had control of the situation again. Also, you don't mention any police involvement when it's CPS is involved. There should be. Why not? Also think about the fact he told you last, once it was all resolved. If he was facing an issue and was innocent and needed help, he'd have told you. One of the main concerns is that they don't want you approaching the sister. However, I think that's strange because it's like they don't want you to hear it from her mouth. All I can say, whatever you choose. When your children grow up, keep an extra eye on your husband around your kids and their friends. Most people don't believe if they live with someone capable of that. Now that you've heard a rumor, it's your responsibility to be more vigilant around your children and teens in his proximity. Reply: I agree that it's strange he apologized if he's innocent. Anyone that would do that. Commenter 2 reply: I also forgot to say I'm sorry you are going through this. It must be so stressful, especially with a new baby. However, please don't consider ignoring this. Every single person I know who was sad before the age of 18, it happened by a friend's dad. Those friends have no idea their dad did that. To them, their family is normal. Until it's not. A friend's dad sad another friend when we were 14. They asked for us to not say anything. We didn't. Last year he was arrested for raping his daughter. He hadn't touched them as children according to them, but he raped her as an adult when she was vulnerable. What I'm trying to say is every single person who's living in the shadows has a family who thinks they'd never do such a thing. You only know because he's now confident he's got control of the narrative as best he can. Do you have any laws in your country that mean you can ask the police for a disclosure? In the UK there are laws where you can explain your relationship to the person and your concern, and they will tell you if they have any relevant convictions. It's typically sexual crimes or domestic violence. Update: my 27F fiancé's 25M little sister allegedly wrongfully accused him of SA, but something isn't right. My fiancé and I spoke on his break at work. After reading through the comments, I had a lot more questions and points to bring up to him, all of which he answered. He completely denied ever doing anything to either girl and says he only apologized to keep peace between households. I told him he was a coward and that if he wasn't guilty, he shouldn't have apologized. He agreed. I then reached out to the family myself. I asked his mom for specifics, as well as the mom of the cousin that accused him. No solid answers. Still blank stares from the sister and Snapchat from the cousin. But I already checked his phone and Snapchat data. He hasn't had the app in months and he does not have her number at all. His mom then said to the sister that we could go to the police and have a report written up so she could have some kind of justice, and she went white as a ghost and denied it. I looked at her and asked her, can you at least tell us what happened so I can know if I need to keep my kids away from him? And she started crying. Like ugly crying. She admitted to feeling like I was taking her protector away. Everyone gets to have their happy family except for me. She admitted to planning her pregnancy after we announced ours and proceeded to show us the texts between her and the cousin plotting this shit over the last few months. They planned out what they were gonna say. They had even planned out a dick pic they had found on the internet, but once the mom had said, okay, show me, I know my son has a birthmark, that story stopped. Their mom sat there, like shocked. And I walked out of the house. I called my fiancé and told him that he's never to see or speak to her again. Hopefully that's the right thing to do. He also cried and apologized over and over for letting this happen. I just want it to be over. Our wedding is in 9 days and I feel like this just fucked up the whole experience in advance. Can I press charges on either girl for false claims? I'll update again soon if there are any changes. Thanks for any advice you guys give/gave. Edit. Fiancé and his mom have apologized to me and promised to never keep anything from me again. I told him that he didn't give me the chance to stand up for him, that's my job as his partner, and he broke down and said he was just scared to lose us. So we're gonna have to work on the trust, but it's better than what it could have been, I guess. Edit 2. I am blown away by people saying this is fake and acting as though people aren't capable of falsely accusing one another. Absolutely wild. And very sad to see how justice is dished out. Stories number 16. I can't stop thinking about the time my GM told my ex, no. You're done talking. God, the setting is insufferably nerdy, but whatever. Several months ago, my ex and I were in a TTRPG campaign together. When this happened, we were still dating. The game took place over a Discord call, no video. My ex and I were in the same room. In the game, I had to make a critical, dramatic decision. There was a lot going through my head. While I was thinking about what to do, my ex could not stop telling me my options. The options were so damn eclectic, esoteric, and involved that it was just not realistic for me to execute. I could tell he was just trying to be helpful, but all it really did was make the decision process more complicated by adding noise. I was so preoccupied, I didn't even notice how much my ex was overstepping me, but my GM did. So he interrupted my ex and said, "Hey. Stop. Let her speak." My ex responded, "But I'm just trying to help dash." "I know, but she's more than capable of making her own decisions. She doesn't need you to do it for her." "But there's dash." "No. You're done talking." My ex muttered, "Okay," in a slightly annoyed tone, then slouched in his chair. I actually had to turn away so my ex couldn't see the massive smile I had on my face. LMAO. I somehow forgot that this happened. I only recently recalled the details of how it went down. At the time, I was so distracted that I didn't realize how grand of a gesture that was. The GM was so goddamn assertive and firm that it was almost chilling, and it was directed at my boyfriend at the time. By that point, I knew the GM for over a year and he had never acted like that before. What gets to me the most is how my GM advocated my autonomy and capabilities. Historically, people have not done that for me. I don't get defended often, and when I do, I usually end up being infantilized. Now whenever I think about this, I feel like kicking my feet in the air, twirling the phone cord with my finger, and going, teehee, over receiving some basic respect like some kind of goddamn schoolgirl. Yes, that's how badly I feel unimportant. I've been happier since I ended the relationship, and I'm glad to still have the GM in my life, even if it's only online. Stories number 17. Aita for cutting off my sister after she didn't uphold her side of a deal. I 18F made an agreement with my older sister 23F earlier this year. She told me that if I put everything I had into my exams, as in truly gave it my best and worked hard, then she would help me financially with a big chunk of my university fees. It wasn't a random promise either. She knew how stressed I was and offered it as motivation. I took it seriously and held on to it like a lifeline, so I threw myself into studying. I skipped meals, lost sleep, took extra tutoring sessions, and basically cut out everything else in my life just to focus. The whole time, I kept telling myself that it would all be worth it because she had my back. After my exams, I found it weird that she didn't bring it up at all. She never asked how they went or talked about anything financial. I didn't want to seem ungrateful or pressure her, so I waited. Months passed. Then just recently, I asked her about it. She told me that she wasn't going to help anymore, and not only that, but she had already decided this back in June while I was still doing my exams. She didn't tell me because she didn't want me to lose my motivation. I feel absolutely crushed. I trusted her completely. I did all of this partly for myself, but a huge part of me pushed through because I believed she'd be there at the end of it. She let me believe in something that wasn't real and then pulled the rug out from under me. Now I don't even want to talk to her. I'm too hurt. I don't want to be around my family either because they think I'm overreacting and that I should just move on. But university is insanely expensive and I genuinely don't know if I'll be able to go now. So Aita for not wanting anything to do with her after this. Stories number 18. Are hetero women still being asked to fix the mental health problems of their partners with mental health issues? I had a conversation with 3 people lately. Granted, they are all operating upon different levels of dysfunction, but all 3 mentioned the following. 1. Finding a female partner to help them be happy. 2. Finding a female partner to make their homes. Meaning, they weren't going to hang a picture on a wall unless there was a woman decorating. 1 person did not buy a couch even when his couch looked like trash. Like absolutely broken. 3. Finding a woman to help them navigate their dysfunctional parental relationships. 4. Finding a woman to accommodate their needs to sulk and not participate in the relationship until they are ready. So women are supposed to be therapist, homemaker, problem solver, manager, and have a full-time job. And the men, who could get up and get therapists like women do, read a self-help book, take a medication, can't be bothered because reasons, but ultimately, anything, feelings, related seems to be women's work and not worth it. Or they think they're depressed, alcoholic, or miserable personalities are not changeable and they need you to at once accept it and manage it. Excuse me, can we stop expecting women to do everything in relationships? If a man can't make his own home or hang a picture on a wall without you, Bye. If a man needs too much sulky, me, time and he really doesn't contribute anything or seem willing to pursue therapy or meds. Bye. Feelings are not optional. Men need to take charge of their mental health like going to the dentist. Expecting female partners to be lover, mother, sister, therapist, interior designer, life coach, fixer, spiritual leader, homemaker, cook, and the mother of his children is insane. All while having her own emotional baggage and job. This must stop. This continues female oppression. Stop normalizing the Princess Charming who saves men from themselves. Bravo to you if you dodged these people who need to help themselves first. I can see working with someone trying, but a lot of them are not. Comments. Commenters 1. I literally just had a conversation with a male friend about how he's angry that women won't fix the male loneliness epidemic more. Sir, do you not see that women bend over backwards for men in every area of life? What more do you want from us? Apparently we're not supporting enough. It was insane. Commenters 2. All day, every day, therapist, mother, maid nymph, then a virgin, nurse, then a servant just an appendage, live to attend him so that he never lifts a finger 24/7 baby machine so he can live out his picket fence dreams. It's not an act of love if you make her, you make me do too much labor. Commenters 3. I see this a lot. Men need to understand that if she isn't a therapist then she isn't their therapist. She's not qualified. She may need her own therapy. Her vagina is not a license to practice therapy. Pay a qualified therapist, bro. Stories number 19. Aita for telling my parents I won't take my girlfriend anywhere my brother is. Okay, I'll try to be short. I 22 have a good relationship with my parents and with my twin sisters 27, but when it comes to my brother Kevin 20 no one really likes him around the house, he's just tolerated. He is what you would call an incel, so he is incredibly disgusting towards women, even to his own sisters, not to our mother though. He's not that dumb. I could give a lot of examples, but it would be pretty long, so I will just say there's a reason why no woman in her right mind comes close to him. Anyway, I have been dating my girlfriend Sarah 22F for over a year now, and I just love her. She's really important for me and she's just awesome. She has met my sisters at my apartment and they got along, but she hasn't met my parents yet. You'll see, I'm from a town, and I'm living in a city 3 hours away, moved initially to study, but I've decided to stay here for Sarah, my friends, and my job. I can't visit much due to my schedule, but my parents have insisted on meeting my girlfriend, and they told me to take her to our town so they could meet her, but I refused many times. Initially, I was just giving vague excuses about us not having time, but they kept insisting, and recently, I was just honest to them. I told them I won't take my girlfriend anywhere the creep of my brother is. God knows what he can do to her. He's a complete creep, so I wouldn't shocked if he tried to do something to her. That he will verbally attack her is as clear as glass, and I wouldn't be shocked if he tried to assault her. They were angry at me for saying that about my brother, but I asked them if they'd really be shocked if that happened, given the way he acts around women. Of course I can't know for sure, but I'd be a really terrible boyfriend if I exposed Sarah to that weirdo. I know that he will at least be aggressive towards her, try to put her down and try to make her feel worthless. He always speaks of women as if they were objects, and when he's not, he's saying they're all whores that care only about money and that they should all stay in their houses, make babies, clean and cook while the man provides, and all that bullcrap that incels with no jobs like to repeat over and over. My parents are angry at me, but I have stated that my decision is final and that I will not let Kevin anywhere near my girl. They're calling me an asshole, telling me they really wanted to meet Sarah and that I was being too extreme, that they wouldn't let Kevin try to attack Sarah in any way, but I don't know, I still don't want to expose her to that. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. You are right to keep her away. Clearly, they allow him to treat your sisters that way, probably because family, and that's just how he is, but no. You're a good man. Commenter 2. Nta. You do need to have a conversation with her and tell her your brother is a toxic, abusive misogynist. And that you will always have her back in dealing with him. Perhaps you can Airbnb home a weekend, drive in Saturday, meet the parents for dinner, and return home Sunday. Make it clear incel is not invited. Your parents failed to raise him right. Reply. She knows already. Commenter 3. I would say standing your ground is definitely the right choice. No need to overcomplicate things. Reply. Totally agree. Protecting your girlfriend from that toxic vibe is way more important than a family gathering. Priorities, man. Commenter 3 reply. Yep, couldn't agree more. OP's just protecting someone he cares about from a clearly toxic situation. No need to sugarcoat or second guess that kind of boundary. Stories number 20. He forgot my birthday at his mom's house, should I be upset? Hey Reddit, I 26F just need to vent and maybe get a reality check. I've been married to my husband 28M for a year and a half now. We've been together almost 4 years total, so yesterday was my birthday. Not a huge milestone or anything, just turning 26. I'm not the kind of person who expects a party or anything crazy, but I do expect my husband to at least say, happy birthday, or acknowledge it. We'd already made casual plans to spend the weekend with his mom since she was having some relatives over. I was cool with that, honestly thought maybe he had something low-key planned and just wasn't saying anything. Well, turns out he didn't plan a single thing. Not a cake, not a card, not even a little, hey let's go get coffee together for your birthday. We get there and it's all about his cousins, barbecue, football on the TV, etc. His mom was super sweet and even she asked if I had any birthday plans. I kinda laughed it off and said we'd celebrate later, just trying not to make it awkward. Meanwhile, my husband's like, babe, can you grab the potato salad from the car? Yeah, cool, I'll just go run your mom's errands on my birthday I guess. It wasn't until 9:30 p.m., when we were already in bed watching Netflix that he goes, wait, was today your birthday? I just kinda looked at him and said, yeah, and then he sat up oh my god I'm the worst, and I didn't even have the energy to say anything. He apologized a bunch and said work's been crazy and he completely spaced it. I get that people forget stuff, but I feel weird. It's not just a coworker or acquaintance, it's my husband. And I don't know if I'm being dramatic, but it really hurt. So, am I overreacting? Or would this make anyone else feel a little invisible? Comments. Commenter 1. Did you tell him you were hurt and what you want him to do to fix it? What did he offer to do? Okay, you told the whole story up until the important part then stopped. Reply. Yeah, I did tell him. Honestly I didn't even plan to, I was trying to just brush it off and go to sleep, but it kinda came out when he asked. I told him I wasn't mad, just really hurt that he forgot, especially since birthdays have always been kind of a big deal for me growing up. He felt awful, and I could tell he genuinely didn't mean to forget. He said he'd make it up to me and asked if we could plan a day this weekend just for the two of us. So we'll see how that goes. I guess I just needed to get it off my chest before I could even think about fixing it, you know. I didn't mean to leave the important part out, I think I was just still feeling a bit deflated when I wrote it all down. Thanks for calling that out. Commenter 2. You should tell him that you were hurt because doesn't matter how busy I am or wherever I am I'm not forgetting my partner's birthday ever. This is bare minimum. Reply. You're right. I think deep down I knew it wasn't just about the birthday, it was about feeling like I wasn't even on his mind that day. I did tell him how hurt I was, and I tried to stay calm about it, but it still felt like I had to explain why it mattered, and that just made it worse. Stories number 21. My sister didn't ask me to be her bridesmaid, and now I have to choose between her wedding and my best friend's. What would you do? Okay, Reddit, I need a reality check, because my feelings are kind of hurt, and I don't know if I'm being overly sensitive or if I'm actually justified in feeling snubbed. So, here's the backstory. I'm 39F, and my younger sister 32F is getting married next year to her fiancé 33M. They've been together for 11 years, yes, 11, which honestly makes it feel like this wedding has been a long time coming. I've always been excited for her. We're not super close in a best friends who text every day kind of way, but we've always been close enough. We speak regularly, spend holidays together, meet up for birthdays and family stuff. I've always thought of our bond as steady. Reliable. Sisterhood, you know. Growing up, I used to joke and not even joke, really about how I couldn't wait to be her bridesmaid. I always imagined standing beside her when the big day came. And not once has she ever given me any indication that I wouldn't be. I didn't expect to be the maid of honor or anything, but in the wedding party, that felt like a given. Well, the wedding plans are underway, and she's asked all her friends to be bridesmaids. Not me. Not even as a token bridesmaid at the end of the lineup. Just, left out. And let me clarify, these friends. She's close to them, sure. But they're not lifelong ride or dies. They're friends from work and uni, most of whom she's only known for 4 to 6 years. Meanwhile, I'm the big sister who held her hair back when she drank too much at 22, who babysat her dog during her overseas internship, who helped cover rent once when she got laid off during the pandemic. I didn't say anything at first. I told myself it was her wedding, her choice, and I don't want to be that person who makes it about them. But I'm hurt. I can't lie. Every time she sends a wedding update or shows me a bridesmaid dress photo, I get this weird knot in my stomach. But wait, it gets trickier. My best friend 38F is also getting married next year. And she did ask me to be her maid of honor. I was honestly emotional when she asked. She gave this sweet little speech about how I've always been her steady person, her anchor. And she wants me right next to her when she walks down the aisle. I want to be there. I want to give the speech, fluff her dress, be part of the chaos. Here's the issue, both weddings are destination weddings. Both are expensive. Both require time off work, travel, and a decent chunk of savings. They're about a month apart. And I cannot afford to do both, financially or mentally. So now I'm stuck. Do I go to my sister's wedding, where I'll sit in the audience and smile and clap for a bridal party I'm not part of? Where I'll be the big sister supporting from the sidelines, while her coworkers and college friends stand beside her in all the photos? Or do I go to my best friend's wedding, where I'm wanted and included, but risk deeply offending my sister, and possibly causing a permanent rift in the family? I've tried to think about what's right versus what feels right. And those answers aren't the same. The right thing might be to go to my sister's wedding. She's family. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event hopefully, and it might not be forgivable if I'm not there. But emotionally, I feel pulled toward my best friends. Because that's where I'm invited in, not just expected to show up. When I gently brought up the topic with my sister without mentioning the maid of honor thing, I said something like, hey, I might have a hard time making it to the wedding, depending on travel costs and time off. I'm trying to figure things out. And she just said, well, it would be a shame if you couldn't make it. But I understand, it's not a cheap trip. No guilt trip. No, but I want you there. Just, indifferent. Or maybe she's just not great at expressing emotions. I don't know. But it felt cold. Meanwhile, my best friend has already offered to cover half of my travel if that's what it takes for me to be there. She wants me there so badly, she's willing to budget me in. So Reddit, be real with me. Am I being dramatic? Too sensitive? Do I suck if I prioritize the wedding where I'm actively included? Should I go to my sister's wedding out of duty, even if my heart won't fully be in it? I'm not trying to punish her for not choosing me. I just don't know how to navigate the part where I have to choose now. Help. Update, my sister didn't ask me to be her bridesmaid, and I had to choose between her wedding and my best friend's. Hey Reddit. So, a few months ago, I posted this story about being caught between two weddings, my sister's, where I wasn't asked to be a bridesmaid and was frankly feeling hurt, and my best friend's, where I was asked to be maid of honor. Both were destination weddings a month apart, and I couldn't afford to do both. Well, a lot has happened since then. Buckle up, let's rewind to when I made the decision. I ended up choosing my best friend's wedding. I didn't rush the decision, I sat with it for weeks. I had honest conversations with my husband, my therapist. I started seeing one through my work EAP, and wow, game changer, and even a couple of neutral mutuals who knew both my sister and my best friend. I didn't just want to go where I felt appreciated, I wanted to go where I could show up fully, not half-hearted. And every time I pictured myself at my sister's wedding, I imagined feeling like an outsider looking in. I didn't want to be just a name on the guest list while her bridesmaids, people she's known for less than half the time she's known me, got to be part of the inner circle. When I gently broke the news to my sister over FaceTime, she was quiet. Not angry, not yelling, just this frozen, distant kind of quiet. Like I'd let the air out of something she hadn't realized she was holding on to. I told her I loved her, and that it wasn't about punishing her or getting even, it was about doing what I had the capacity for. That this wasn't about picking favorites, it was about choosing to show up well for one person instead of half showing up for two. She nodded, said she understood, and ended the call with a flat, okay. Take care. And that was it. No follow-up texts. No check-ins. Just radio silence. The best friend's wedding. Fast forward to the wedding weekend, and oh my god, it was magical. I'm not even being cheesy. My best friend's wedding was this cozy, love-drenched celebration on a vineyard in southern France. We stayed in a restored farmhouse, the ceremony overlooked a field of sunflowers, and the night ended with everyone barefoot, dancing under fairy lights. Being her maid of honor felt right. I gave the speech, helped her with the dress changes, wrangled rogue flower girls, and ugly cried during her vows. I felt appreciated, needed, seen. I didn't realize how much I needed that kind of affirmation until I had it. It was healing in a way I didn't expect. She pulled me aside the morning after and said, "You made this whole thing less stressful and more joyful." I couldn't have done this without you. And you know what? I believe her. It wasn't just a role, it was a real relationship, honored in action. The fallout with my sister. Meanwhile, my sister's wedding came and went a month later. I didn't go. I sent a gift, a personalized framed print of one of her engagement photos, with their vows printed around the border. I wrote a heartfelt card. I even messaged her on the wedding day just saying, thinking of you today. Hope it's everything you dreamed of. I got no response. No thank you. No photos. Just silence. I found out through a cousin's Instagram that the wedding looked beautiful. She looked stunning. The bridesmaids wore champagne-colored dresses, and they had a live string quartet. My parents told me it went smoothly, that she didn't bring me up at all except to say, she couldn't make it. Now here's the part one didn't expect, my mom got upset. At me. She called a few days later and basically said I should have sucked it up and gone, that family should come first, and I made a statement by not being there. I told her I didn't mean to make a statement, I just couldn't be everywhere at once. And I chose to go where I was being asked to stand, not just sit. She said, but she's your sister. And I wanted to scream, then why didn't she want me beside her? But I didn't. I just said, she made a choice about who mattered to her on that day. So did I. Where we are now. It's been about 3 months since both weddings. My sister and I are still not speaking. She didn't block me or anything, but there's been no effort on her end to reach out. I've sent 2 texts, one post-wedding, hope you're settling into married life okay, and one for her birthday, and both were left unread. Part of me feels guilty. Another part of me feels, strangely okay with the space. I still love her. But I've stopped chasing a version of closeness we've never really had. My best friend. We're closer than ever. I don't regret choosing her. I showed up for someone who sees me fully, and I think that's allowed, even in the messy world of family dynamics. Anyway, I know people will have different takes on this. Some will say I was wrong, selfish, dramatic. Some will get it. But I've learned that honoring where you're wanted isn't disloyalty, it's self-respect. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Happy to answer any questions. Update 2, choosing between my sister's wedding where I wasn't a bridesmaid and my best friend's where I was maid of honor. Hi Reddit. Thought I'd circle back with another update because, well, life has a funny way of twisting itself around when you least expect it. To catch you up, I39F originally posted about having to choose between attending my sister's destination wedding where I was just a guest, not a bridesmaid, and my best friend's wedding where I was maid of honor. Both were expensive and a month apart, I couldn't afford both. I ultimately chose to attend my best friend's wedding, which was beautiful and healing, but it led to radio silence from my sister and a side helping of guilt from my mom. Well, it's been about 8 months since both weddings now. And things have shifted again. So, here's what's happened. Around the holidays, I got a group text from my mom trying to organize our usual post-Christmas brunch. Same group as always, me, my sister, our parents, and a couple of cousins if they were in town. I hadn't spoken to my sister since before her wedding, and I was surprised to see she didn't reply with her usual, "we're in," or "we'll be out of town." A few days later, my mom called me, super annoyed, saying, "You need to talk to your sister. She says she's not coming if you're there." Wait, what? So I called my sister. Straight up called her. I was done dancing around silence. She answered after 2 rings. Her voice was clipped. Cold. Not angry, but brittle. And I said, "Look, I get that you're hurt. But this silence is exhausting. Can we just talk like grown-ups?" What followed was a 45-minute conversation where everything, every little bruise and assumption, got dragged into the light. She told me that when I didn't attend her wedding, it confirmed what she'd always feared, that I didn't see her as important. That I've always chosen friends over family, that I'm the emotional one who needs to be the center of things, while she's always been the steady one no one checks in on. She said, "I didn't make you a bridesmaid because I thought you wouldn't care. You've always had your own life, your own people. I thought you'd show up, have some wine, leave early. I had no idea it meant so much to you." And that broke something open in me. I told her, I would have moved mountains to stand beside you, if you'd just asked. I told her that not being asked made me feel like an afterthought. That yes, I chose my best friend's wedding, but only because she gave me a role. She told me I mattered. We both cried. She admitted she hadn't handled things well. That she'd felt too awkward to talk about it, and that when I chose not to come, she interpreted it as a final rejection, even though, deep down, she knew it was more complicated than that. Where things are now, we're cautiously reconnecting. She came to brunch. We hugged for the first time in a long time. It wasn't one of those movie scene reconciliations with dramatic speeches and piano music, but it felt real. Human. A little raw. Since then, we've texted more. She sent me photos from her honeymoon in Italy that she never shared before. I sent her pictures from my friend's wedding, the one I was maid of honor at. We've even talked about planning a weekend trip together in the spring, nothing crazy, just a low-key cabin getaway. Do I think everything's magically fixed? No, there's a lot to unpack, years of assumptions and mismatched expectations between us. But I think we're both realizing that closeness isn't just about blood or history, it's about effort, curiosity, showing up. And she's showing up. So am I. Final thoughts for now. What this whole thing taught me is that hurt doesn't always look like yelling. Sometimes it's silence, withdrawal, avoidance. But underneath it all is usually something simple and human, wanting to feel valued. I made a choice I don't regret. But I also understand now that she was hurting too, in a way I hadn't fully grasped. We're both works in progress. Anyway, thanks Reddit for reading through this whole messy journey. The comments, even the ones that challenged me, helped me see it from more than just my own angle. Let me know if you want a final update sometime down the line. Who knows, maybe we'll end up being each other's bridesmaids someday after all. Well, metaphorically at this point, we're both already married. Take care, internet strangers. Update 3, the wedding dilemma, the fallout, the reconciliation, and now, something I didn't expect. Hey again, Reddit. I didn't think I'd be back here with another update, but life keeps adding chapters whether you're ready for them or not. And this next one? Honestly, it caught me completely off guard. So if you followed the saga, I had to choose between attending my sister's destination wedding where I wasn't asked to be a bridesmaid and my best friend's wedding where I was maid of honor. I chose the latter. It hurt my sister, it hurt me, and we went through months of radio silence and emotional Cold War until we finally talked. The last update ended with a cautious but hopeful reconnection. This update? It begins with a dinner invitation. The dinner that changed the tone. A few weeks after our brunch truce, I got a text from my sister. Hey. You and Alex want to come over for dinner Friday? I'll cook. No awkwardness, just food. It was the first real gesture she'd made toward reconnecting since we talked. I ran it by my husband, who bless him said, only if she's making that mushroom risotto she used to do. Otherwise I'm out. Spoiler, she made the risotto. Dinner was, weirdly normal. Her husband was there, super chill. He and my husband get along easily, which helped lighten the vibe. We didn't dive into anything deep. We didn't have to. We just existed together for a couple of hours without the weight of the past sitting at the table with us. But at one point, after dessert, she quietly asked if I'd help her organize some photos from her wedding. She said she'd put it off because she didn't want to think about who wasn't there. I told her I'd love to. We spent the next week slowly going through pictures on a shared Google album. I was surprised, touched, even, by how many of her friends had taken photos of me from events over the years. She said she hadn't realized how much of her world I'd actually been in until she saw those pictures all grouped together. It felt like rebuilding a bridge. One pixel at a time. And then came the baby news. No, not mine, her. Yup, my sister is pregnant. She told me a week ago, right after the first trimester mark. I was the third person she told after her husband and our mom. That hit me. Because a year ago, I wasn't even on the list. I might not have even known until she posted the sonogram on Instagram. We cried. Both of us. On FaceTime, she said, I don't want to do this without you. I want you there. And Reddit, this is the part that turned me into a mess. She asked me to be the godmother, not one of her bridesmaids. Not a tag-along guest. Not an afterthought. Godmother, she said, I've been watching how you love your people. You show up in a million quiet ways. That's the kind of energy I want around my kid. I ugly cried. Like full-on snot and hiccups. My husband brought tissues and wine. He didn't ask. He just poured and sat with me. He's good like that. What now? We're still far from perfect. We both mess up. We both overthink things. But for the first time in probably a decade, I feel like we're meeting each other as actual adults. Not just as the roles we were handed growing up. She's no longer just the cooler, composed one, and I'm not just the emotional one with loud friends. We're just two women trying to build something better between us before it's too late. And now, with a baby on the way, that effort feels even more important. We even joked about doing a do-over photo this summer where I get to wear a bridesmaid dress and she holds a bouquet made of diapers. Honestly, I wouldn't hate it. If you're still reading after all this time, thanks for sticking with me. This started as a question about which wedding to attend, and somehow became a whole emotional family drama, a friendship test, a grief process, and now, a path to godparenthood. Life is weird. Families are weird. But I'm learning that sometimes, the long way around is still a way home. Let me know if you want a final update after the baby comes. I have a feeling there's still more story ahead. And to anyone out there estranged from a sibling, don't write it off entirely. Time doesn't always heal things, but honesty and willingness might. Till next time. Final update, from bridesmaid heartbreak to godmother joy, and how everything came full circle. Hey again, Reddit. So this will probably be my final update unless life throws me another plot twist worthy of its own novella. When I first posted here, I never imagined the thread would turn into this many chapters, or that so many strangers would ride the emotional roller coaster with me. Thank you. Truly. Now, buckle up, because this chapter is soft, loud, messy, full of feelings, and 100% real. Let's get into it. A baby, a blessing, and a big emotional circle. My sister gave birth 2 weeks ago. A healthy baby girl with her dad's nose and my sister's big, soulful eyes. I was at the hospital when she went into labor, not in the room, but in the waiting area, holding my sister's bag, fielding calls from our parents, and silently eating a pack of Skittles like it was communion. The moment I saw that tiny wrinkly face for the first time, I broke. Not in a sad way, more like every wound we ever gave each other, intentionally or not, just washed out of me. My sister looked at me from her hospital bed, exhausted and glowing, and whispered, "Meet your goddaughter." I didn't think I'd cry again after that FaceTime announcement months ago, but there I was, ugly sobbing in a fluorescent hallway, gripping that tiny baby burrito of a human while my sister looked on and smiled with her eyes half closed. She later told me she never realized how deeply I wanted to feel included. Not just in weddings or photos or plans, but in her life. In the parts that really matter, and honestly, I don't think I ever fully admitted it to myself either. My best friend's reaction, a surprise twist. Some of you asked in comments and DMs how my best friend the bride from the other wedding took it, especially as things with my sister slowly healed. And here's where things get a little messy again. She was jealous. Not of the baby. Not of the godmother title. But of the emotional reconciliation. She told me, weeks before the baby was due, that watching me and my sister mend things made her question some of the relationships in her own life, especially with her estranged brother. She said, "I didn't know adults could come back together like that." I thought that kind of hurt just hardened forever. We had a long wine-fueled night talking about how fragile friendships and family ties can be, and how rare it is when they're worth fighting for. She ended up calling her brother. They're not besties now, but they text. They talk. She said that would have never happened if I hadn't told her the whole messy story of my sister and me. Funny how healing echoes, right? So, where does that leave us? I've changed. My sister has too. We're still different people, wildly so, but there's a respect between us now that didn't exist before. A grace. We don't wait for big holidays to reach out. We don't assume the worst in each other anymore. That's progress, and I've held that baby every chance I get. She gurgles when I sing to her terribly, and she falls asleep faster on my chest than in her fancy swaddle contraption. My sister says she already has my dramatic flair. I'll take it. Final thoughts and a quiet thank you. If you're reading this and you're stuck in your own family mess, wondering if it's even worth the effort to try, I don't have all the answers. Not every story ends in reconciliation. Not every sibling wants to reconnect. Some wounds are too deep, and that's valid. But if there's a chance, even a sliver, and you think they might meet you halfway, say the thing. Ask the question. Extend the olive branch, even if it shakes in your hand. You never know. You might go from feeling like the outsider at a wedding, to holding your goddaughter while your sister sleeps peacefully in the next room. And trust me, that kind of full circle moment, it's more healing than any bridesmaid dress could ever be. Thanks, Reddit. For listening, for advising, for helping me get through it. I think I'm finally home. Stories number 22. Aita for telling my boyfriend his mom needs to back off. Okay, Reddit, buckle up because I'm about to unleash 4 years of pent-up frustration into this post, and I need to know if I'm the crazy one here. Background. Me 28F and my boyfriend, let's call him Jake 29M, have been together for almost 4 years. We live together, share a dog, and have even talked about marriage, in theory. The one massive, glaring, can't ignore it roadblock. His mom. Now, I'm not one of those people who expects their partner's family to adore them instantly. But Jake's mom? She's been frosty from day one. At first, I chalked it up to her being protective, maybe she just needed time to warm up to me. For years later, and I'm pretty sure she'd throw a party if I got hit by a bus. The petty comments on my appearance, oh, you're wearing that to dinner. Jake's ex always dressed so nicely. On my cooking, you don't season your food like his last girlfriend did. She was such a good cook. Ma'am, I made spaghetti, not a 5-course Michelin meal. On my career, it's nice that you have a little job, but Jake's ex was in med school. I'm a graphic designer with a steady paycheck, but sure, Jan. For years, I've bitten my tongue, smiled, and told myself, she's just old school. She doesn't mean it. But last week? Oh, last week was the final straw. The bathroom drawer incident. I came home from work to find Jake's mom sitting at our kitchen table like she owned the place. I said hello, went to the bathroom to wash up, and immediately noticed, my drawers were open. Not just slightly ajar, but rifled through. My skincare, tampons, everything was shuffled around. Did you go through my stuff? Her smiling sweetly, oh, I just wanted to see what you use on your face. Your skin looks a little dry lately. Excuse me. I stood there, blinking, wondering if I'd accidentally walked into a dystopian novel where mothers-in-law are legally allowed to violate privacy. I not calmly told Jake what happened, expecting him to be as weirded out as I was. His response. That's just how she is. She doesn't mean anything by it. The breaking point. I finally snapped. I told him, Jake, I need you to set boundaries with your mom, or I don't know if I can keep doing this. His reaction. You're being dramatic. Why do you keep making me choose between you two? My dilemma. My stance, I'm not asking him to choose. I'm asking him to respect that his mom's behavior is invasive, rude, and honestly, creepy. I've put up with years of snide comments, but going through my personal things. That's next level disrespect. His stance, she's just looking out for me. Cool, but why does looking out for you require her to critique my pores and compare me to your ex? The fallout. Now, Jake's giving me the silent treatment. His mom is probably drafting a PowerPoint on why I'm the worst girlfriend ever, and I'm sitting here wondering, Aita for finally standing up for myself? Or am I supposed to just keep smiling while she passive-aggressively audits my life until one of us dies? Reddit, help me out here. Am I the problem, or is this a your mom needs therapy and you need a spine situation? And yes, I've considered hiding a glitter bomb in my bathroom drawer for next time. Petty? Maybe. Deserved? Absolutely. Update, Aita for telling my boyfriend his mom needs to back off. First off, holy shit, Reddit. I did not expect my post to blow up like this. My inbox is a war zone of MIL horror stories, people telling me to run, and at least 3 offers to accidentally mail his mom a box of crickets. Tempting, but okay, let's get into the drama update because boy, has it been a week. The aftermath of the great bathroom raid. After my last post, Jake was still giving me the cold shoulder, and his mom. Radio silence. Normally, I'd be relieved, but the tension in our apartment was thicker than her unsolicited criticism. Then, out of nowhere, Jake comes home from work last Thursday and says, my mom wants to talk. All 3 of us. Dinner at their place tomorrow. Me, internally, yes, my favorite, a forced confrontation with the woman who treats me like the side character in her son's life. But fine. I agreed. Maybe this was my chance to finally be heard. Dinner at Devil's Diner aka his parents' house. I walked in armed with my best, I'm not the villain here, smile, and his mom. She greeted me like nothing happened. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a breezy, oh, you're wearing makeup tonight. Much better. Jake's dad bless this man, leave her alone, Linda. First red flag that he might be the only sane one here. We sat down, and before I could even take a bite of the suspiciously over-seasoned lasagna a dig at my cooking, no doubt, his mom drops this gem. So, Jake told me you're upset about me organizing your bathroom. Organizing? Me, you didn't organize it. You went through my personal things and then criticized my skin. Her, I was just concerned. You're part of this family now, and I help the people I love. Jake, see. She's just trying to help. At this point, my soul left my body. I took a deep breath and said, okay, let's be clear. Helping isn't commenting on my body, comparing me to exes, or invading my privacy. If you actually cared, you'd ask how I feel instead of picking me apart. Silence. Then, his mom hits me with, well, maybe if you weren't so sensitive, you'd realize I'm just being honest. Jake's dad muttering into his wine, Jesus, Linda, Jake. Crickets. Not a word in my defense. The car ride home, aka the moment I saw the light. As soon as we got in the car, Jake exploded. Why did you have to make it awkward? She's never going to like you if you keep acting like this. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't about his mom. This was about him. For years of me swallowing her insults, for years of him shrugging it off, for years of me begging for basic respect, and he still saw me as the problem. So I said it. Jake, if you don't see what's wrong with how she treats me, and how you let her, then we have a much bigger issue. He went quiet. Then, quietly, you're overreacting. The ultimatum and the fallout. The next morning, I woke up and realized, I'm done. I sat Jake down and said, I love you, but I won't spend my life being disrespected. Either you talk to your mom, seriously talk to her, about boundaries, or I'm out. His response. I'm not choosing sides. If you can't handle her, maybe this isn't gonna work. So. There it is, where we are now. I've been staying at my best friend's place. Jake has texted exactly once, are you really leaving over this? Yes, dumbass. His mom, according to mutual friends, is telling people I'm too emotional for marriage. Cool. Cool. Reddit, I'm heartbroken but also, weirdly relieved. I spent years thinking I was the problem, but now I see, I wasn't asking for too much. I was asking the wrong person. So, final verdict, Aita. Hell no, but if anyone needs me, I'll be stress-eating ice cream, blocking his mom on every platform, and never dating a mama's boy again. TLDR, told BF his mom needed boundaries, he called me dramatic, I left. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. Update 2, Aita for telling my boyfriend his mom needs to back off. Reddit, I come to you once again, older, wiser, and with a much shinier spine. Since my last update, things have escalated from dramatic family dinner to full-blown telenovela. Grab your popcorn, because this one's got betrayal, unexpected allies, and a twist even I didn't see coming. The aftermath of my ultimatum. After I moved out, Jake's texts went from, are you really leaving over this, to, you're blowing up our relationship for no reason, classic Darvo deny, attack, reverse victim and offender, for those not versed in toxic behavior. But the real kicker. His mom started texting me, not to apologize. Oh no, her first message, I hope you're happy. Jake's heartbroken because of you. My reply after a deep breath and a shot of tequila, Linda, if you truly cared about his happiness, you wouldn't have spent 4 years making me feel like crap. But sure, blame me. Her response. Radio silence. Shocking. The plot twist, Jake's dad reaches out. Just when I thought this saga couldn't get wilder, I got a Facebook message from Jake's dad, Greg. Hey, OP. I know this is awkward, but I wanted to apologize for Linda's behavior. You didn't deserve any of that. Jake's always been her baby, and she's territorial. Not an excuse, just context. Also, I found your earring under the couch, let me know if you want it back. My jaw hit the floor. Not only did this man validate everything I'd been feeling, but he also confirmed what I suspected, Jake's mom has always been like this. Greg and I ended up having a 30-minute phone call where he admitted Linda hated Jake's ex too. Shocker. She used to drop by Jake's old apartment unannounced to check on him, aka Snoop. Even Greg has had to set boundaries with her, and they've been married 35 years. Me, realizing the problem runs deeper than I thought, so, this is just her personality. Greg, sighing, pretty much. Jake's the only one who doesn't see it. Jake's final attempt and my final straw. 2 days later, Jake showed up at my friend's place, looking like a sad golden retriever who'd been kicked. Him, I miss you. Can we talk? Me already exhausted, only if you're ready to admit your mom's behavior isn't okay. Cue the waterworks. He gave me the whole, I love you, I don't want to lose you, speech, but the second I said, then you need to tell your mom to back off, he shut down. Him, I can't just change her. Why can't you just ignore it? Me, because I shouldn't have to. A partner protects you, Jake. Even from their own family. Silence. Then, the kicker. Him, maybe you're right. Maybe I can't stand up to her. And that's when I knew, this wasn't going to change. The breakup and the unexpected silver lining. I ended it. For good. Jake cried. I cried. It sucked. But for the first time in years, I felt free. And then Greg messaged me again. I'm sorry it ended this way. You're a good person, and Jake's gonna regret this. Also, Linda's pissed I talked to you, so, worth it. LMAO. At least someone in that family has a soul. Where I'm at now, Jake's mom has apparently told everyone I was controlling and tore the family apart. Sure, Linda. Sure, mutual friends are split, some think I overreacted, others are like, dude, his mom was nuts. I started therapy to unpack why I put up with this for so long. Spoiler, childhood people-pleasing tendencies. Working on it, but the best part, I reconnected with an old friend, one who, upon hearing this saga, said, damn, you really did date a mama's boy. Wanna grab drinks and never do that again, so we did. And guess what? No one criticized my skin or my career choices. It was magical. Final thoughts and a question for Reddit. This whole mess taught me two things. You teach people how to treat you. I let Jake and his mom disrespect me for years because I thought I had to be the chill girlfriend. Never again. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Jake couldn't stand up to his mom. That's his choice. But it doesn't have to be my problem. So, Reddit, AITA for finally walking away. Rhetorical question. I know I'm not, but if anyone's curious, yes, I did tell Greg to mail my earring back. And yes, I fully expect Linda to steam it first for fingerprints. TLDR, broke up with mama's boy, his dad apologized, his mom is probably sharpening a voodoo doll of me, and I'm thriving. Want another update in a few months? Let me know, I'll report back if. Update 3, AITA for telling my boyfriend his mom needs to back off. Reddit, I come bearing tea so piping hot, it could scald Linda herself. It's been 3 months since I last updated, and oh, has the universe been busy. Strap in, because this update includes a shocking betrayal, a villain origin story, and the ultimate cosmic justice. The great unraveling or Jake's downfall. Remember how I thought Jake would eventually realize his mistakes? Spoiler, he did not. Instead, he immediately rebounded with a girl from his gym, let's call her Tiffany. Now, normally, I wouldn't care. But here's the kicker, Tiffany is exactly the kind of woman Linda claims to love. Works in healthcare like Jake's precious ex. Dresses classy, Linda's words, not mine. Already posting family dinners on Instagram #blessed #new beginnings. I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting a little. But then, the universe delivered. The plot twist, Linda hates Tiffany. Yes. You read that right. The woman who spent years tearing me down hates the perfect new girlfriend. How do I know? Greg told me. God bless this man. Apparently, Linda called Tiffany tacky for wearing leggings to Sunday dinner. She joked that Tiffany's nursing job isn't as impressive as being a doctor. Sound familiar? She even went through Tiffany's purse to see what kind of gum she chews. Because apparently gum is a moral failing now. Jake's response. Mom, stop. Tiffany's great. Wait. Jake stood up to her. For someone else, me, laughing hysterically into my wine glass. Oh, the irony tastes delicious. The ultimate betrayal for Jake, not me. Here's where it gets really juicy. Tiffany has a backbone. After one family dinner where Linda made a harmless joke about her weight, Tiffany snapped. Linda, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I don't tolerate disrespect. Jake, are you gonna say something, or do I need to? Jake froze. Shocking. Tiffany left. And guess what? She dumped him the next day. Reason? I'm not signing up for a lifetime of your mom's bullshit. Mic drop. The fallout and my personal vindication. Jake is miserable. Per mutual friends, he's been moping at bars, complaining that women are too sensitive these days. Sure, buddy. Linda is furious that her perfect son is single again. She's now blaming me for setting a bad example. Greg sent me a meme of a dumpster fire with the caption, The Smith Family, 2024. I love this man. Meanwhile, I'm thriving. Went on a solo trip to Costa Rica. Got a promotion at work. Started dating a guy whose mom literally texts me recipes and cat videos. Karma doesn't just come around, it sets up a whole damn buffet. Final life lessons for anyone stuck in a Linda situation. Mama's boys don't change unless they want to. Jake had 2 wake-up calls and still didn't get it. The problem was never you, it was them. Tiffany was perfect, and Linda still destroyed it. Sometimes, the best revenge is living well. And occasionally getting updates from your ex's dad. So, Reddit, AITA for enjoying this a little too much? Nah. I'm just grateful the trash took itself out. TLDR, Jake's mom ruined his rebound relationship too, his dad is my secret informant, and I'm living my best Linda-free life. Final update, AITA for telling my boyfriend his mom needs to back off. Reddit, it's time. After nearly a year of drama, growth, and more petty texts from Linda than any human should endure, this saga has reached its glorious, absurd, and deeply satisfying conclusion. Grab your popcorn, this one's got a shocking reunion, a villain's downfall, and the kind of poetic justice that would make Shakespeare nod approvingly. The unexpected reunion or, Jake's desperate text. 6 months of silence. 6 months of peace. Then, out of nowhere, Jake 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, hey. Can we talk? Me after laughing for a solid minute, depends. Did your mom approve this message? Turns out, Jake had hit rock bottom. Tiffany had rightfully ghosted him. His mom had started micromanaging his dating life, setting him up with women from her church who know their place. Barf. Greg had finally moved out, citing 35 years of emotional terrorism as grounds for separation. King shit. Jake wanted to apologize for everything over coffee. I said yes. Not because I wanted him back, oh hell no, but because I needed to see the regret in his eyes. The coffee shop confession. Jake showed up looking like a man who just realized his entire life was a self-inflicted wound. Him, I messed up. I should have stood up for you. Me sipping my latte, yep. Him, I thought she'd change. But she's worse now. Me nodding, shocking. Then, the kicker, I think. I need therapy. Because I can't keep letting her ruin my life. Cue the angelic choir. I won't lie, part of me wanted to dance on the table. But instead, I said, good. Do that. For you, not just to get a girlfriend. Linda's downfall, a symphony of schadenfreude. While Jake was having his epiphany, Linda was spiraling. Greg filed for divorce. Turns out, he'd been secretly planning his escape for years. Her church friend started avoiding her after she criticized a potluck casserole to the widow who made it. Jake put her on an information diet, refusing to discuss his dating life. The piece de resistance. She showed up at my apartment. Linda on my doorstep, teary-eyed, you won. Are you happy? Me smiling, Linda, this was never a game. But since you asked, yes. I'm very happy. She left without another word. Where we are now. Jake, in therapy, finally setting boundaries. Still single, but at least aware he's the problem. Greg, living his best life in a Florida retirement community, sending me memes weekly. Linda, miserable, but that's not my circus anymore. Me, promoted, in love with a man whose mom sends me homemade jam, and free. Final lessons for anyone facing a Linda. You can't change a mama's boy, only he can. And most won't. The best revenge isn't anger, it's indifference. And occasionally, watching them implode from a safe distance. Family isn't blood. It's who chooses you. Shout out to Greg, the real MVP. So, Reddit, AITA for walking away. Nope. Just a woman who finally learned her worth. TLDR, Jake got therapy, Linda got karma, Greg got freedom, and I got everything. Stories number 23. AITJ for not inviting my friend to girls' night after she completely hijacked the last one. Hey Reddit. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Buckle up because I did not expect small-town drama to feel like a subplot in a reality show, but here we are. So I 24F live in one of those small towns where your kindergarten teacher still knows your dog's name and the lady at the grocery store knows if you're having a bad day by how you scan your tomatoes. Everyone knows everyone, and news spreads faster than an allergy in a nut factory. Growing up, I've had two solid ride-or-die best friends, let's call them Jess and Riley. Once a month, like clockwork, we do girls' night in, wine, movies, weird snacks, and chaotic oversharing. We talk about everything. Who's texting who? Who's ghosting who? Who ran into their ex at the pharmacy and dramatically dropped a box of tampons? Real bonding stuff, and for the record, it's our safe space. No judgment. No performative BS. Just three women eating double-stuffed Oreos like it's a food group and scream laughing until someone pees a little. Enter, Tina. Tina 25F used to live here growing up but moved away for college. She was always kind of the queen bee back then, beautiful, loud, magnetic in that everyone wants to be her or date her, kinda way. We weren't close in school, but when she moved back a few months ago, I figured, new chapter, new vibes, right? Wrong. So wrong. She started popping up at the coffee shop where Jess works, slid into our group chats like she never left, and suddenly she's reconnecting with all of us. Cool. Fine. No beef. So when girls' night came up last month, I thought, let's give her a shot. Big mistake. Within 10 minutes of walking into my apartment, she dropped her designer bag, kicked off her heels like it was a movie, and launched into a monologue about her latest breakup. And I don't mean, he cheated and done, no. She pulled out her phone and read us their entire text thread. With voices. Like a dramatic reading. She even paused for commentary. We tried to be supportive. We nodded, we mm'd, we offered wine refills. But every time one of us tried to change the subject or tell a story, she'd circle it back to herself. Oh my God, you saw your ex at the grocery store. That reminds me of when I saw mine in a Whole Foods in LA and he cried next to the gluten-free pasta. I wish I were exaggerating. Then, and I swear I'm not making this up, she went live on Instagram from my freaking living room. She barely asked. Just a casual, OMG, let's say hi to my followers, and suddenly there's a ring light on, her phone propped up against a wine bottle, and she's doing a Q&A about her life to 300 people while Jess and Riley and I are just sitting there like backup dancers. It was humiliating. I finally said, hey Tina, maybe let's log off. And she laughed, said, you're so shy, it's cute, and kept going. We cut the night short after that. It just wasn't fun. So for this month's girls' night, I left it simple. Just me, Jess, and Riley. Like it's always been. No group chat invite. No drama. We did hot cocoa and 90s rom-coms and talked about real-life stuff. It felt safe again. Now here's the problem. Tina found out. Surprise, surprise. Apparently, someone tagged a photo from that night, just a cute couch selfie, and she saw it. Since then, she's been telling people around town that I excluded her out of jealousy, and that I can't handle other girls being confident. I've gotten DMs from people I barely talk to saying things like, wow, heard what you did. That's really petty. Not inviting someone because they're prettier than you is such a bad look. You're just mad she gets attention. First of all, what? Half the girls in town are Team Tina and think I was mean and cliquey. The other half? They've quietly messaged me saying, good for you. She's exhausting. You just said what we were all thinking. Now I'm torn. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But I also don't think girls' night should feel like a podcast I didn't agree to be a guest on. So, Reddit. Am I the jerk for not inviting Tina to our monthly girls' night because she hijacked the last one and made it all about herself? Or am I gatekeeping a space that's supposed to be about comfort and trust? Help me out here. I'm spiraling and considering deleting Instagram forever. Update, AITJ for not inviting my friend to girls' night after she stole the spotlight last time. Phew. Okay, Reddit. First off, I didn't expect this post to blow up the way it did. I genuinely thought maybe 5 people would comment and one would say, YTA, and I'd cry into my hoodie and call it a day. But I read every single reply, the kind ones, the savage ones, even the ones that made me question if I've been a secret villain this whole time. And honestly, it helped. So thank you. Now, buckle up, because things escalated. Let's start with Tina. After my post, I decided not to engage online. No subtweets, no cryptic Instagram stories, no texting her to explain. I figured, the internet already thinks I'm petty, I'm not gonna hand them more popcorn. Well, Tina didn't get the memo. She apparently heard through the grapevine that I'd written a whole Reddit story about her, which is unsettlingly accurate. I didn't name her, obviously, but I guess someone guessed, or maybe she just knew in her gut that the call was coming from inside the house. Because the next day, and I wish I were making this up, Tina showed up at my apartment. In person. Without warning, I opened the door and she just stood there in a matching workout set, holding a venti iced matcha like we were about to go for a power walk. She gave me this tight little smile and said, can we talk? I panicked and let her in. Yes, I know. Rookie mistake. She started off calm. Said she was hurt I didn't invite her and that she thought we'd all bonded. She said it wasn't cool to make her feel unwanted and said that even if she is a little over the top, she's just trying to rebuild her identity after a traumatic breakup. Now, look. I have some empathy. I really do. Breakups suck. Feeling excluded sucks. But the way she framed everything, as if I was cruel and calculated, started to make my skin crawl. I told her, as gently as I could, that the night wasn't meant to be a public performance. That it felt overwhelming, and honestly, uncomfortable. I told her about the live video, how it threw off the vibe, how my friends felt like they couldn't open up because everything became about her. She blinked at me for a second, then said, "So, you're saying you're jealous that people pay attention to me?" That's when I lost it. Not yelling or anything, just done being polite. I told her point blank, it's not jealousy. It's boundaries. It's okay to be confident, but not at the expense of everyone around you. Not when people are trying to create a safe space and you walk in like it's your audition for The Bachelorette. She rolled her eyes, mumbled something like, "Whatever, I see what this is," and walked out. The aftermath? Well, things got messy. Tina went on IG and posted a vague story, you know the kind, white text on black background. Be careful who you trust. Some people will throw you under the bus to get a little internet attention. Jealousy is a disease. Get well soon. Nail polish light skin tone. Cue the flood of DMs from people who totally knew it was about me. Again, some came to my defense. Others doubled down. It honestly made me want to deactivate every account I own and move into the woods. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. Jess, my best friend since sophomore year, texted me the next day and said she was a little uncomfortable with how I handled things. That maybe I could have looped Tina in this month, just to give her a second chance. That maybe I was gatekeeping the group a bit too hard. I was shocked. I asked if she wanted Tina back in the group. She said no, not exactly, just that it felt exclusionary and not our usual vibe. So now I'm wondering, did I overreact? Did I draw too hard a line? Riley, bless her, said she had zero regrets about the last girls' night and wouldn't survive another Instagram Q&A. But the tension with Jess made me realize this isn't just about Tina. It's about how friend groups evolve, and how uncomfortable it can be when someone pushes their way in and shifts the balance. So, Reddit, I'm stuck again. I didn't expect this to turn into Friendship Cold War 2024, but here we are. Do I try to repair things with Jess? Do I just let Tina do her thing and quietly protect our space without making a scene? Or am I actually becoming the villain people accused me of being? I don't know what's next. But girls' night is next week, and I'm scared to even send out the invite. Update 2. AITJ for not inviting my friend to girls' night after she stole the spotlight last time. Alright Reddit, back with another round of chaos. If you thought things cooled off, oh no. They didn't. They simmered, then boiled over. Last time I left off, Tina had shown up at my door, accused me of being jealous, and then fired off that passive-aggressive Instagram story. Jess, one of my closest friends, surprised me by saying she felt weird about the exclusion and suggested I may have been too harsh. I was already torn. But things got so much messier after that. Girls' Night, the sequel aka Emotional Roulette. So, Girls' Night was coming up again. Just me, Jess, and Riley. Same plan as always, wine, pizza, maybe a movie none of us actually watch because the gossip is too juicy. I sent out the group text and got immediate confirmation from Riley. Can't wait. I have tea so hot it'll scald. Jess took longer. When she finally responded, it was lukewarm. I'll come by for a bit. Don't feel like staying late. That was my first red flag. Jess lives for girls' night. She once bailed on a Tinder date mid-appetizer because she didn't want to miss our ritual, but I figured she might just be tired. She'd been working a ton lately. Well, fast forward to the night of. Riley comes over first, armed with wine, gossip, and a vague promise of screenshots you will not believe. We're laughing, vibing, settling in. Then Jess arrives, and she's not alone. She brought Tina, unannounced. No heads up. Just waltzed in like it was completely normal. I froze. Riley blinked at me, and I could feel the entire vibe of the night shift like someone had just opened a window during a snowstorm. Tina, of course, acted like she belonged there. Hey, I figured it was time to bury the drama, right? She said, dropping her bag on the floor and pouring herself a glass of wine without asking. Jess gave me a pointed look. Like, see? I fixed it. Reader. I did not feel fixed. I excused myself to the kitchen for a breather, and Riley followed. She whispered, what the actual hell is happening? And I told her the truth, I had no idea. The rest of the night was a fever dream. Tina tried to take over every conversation again. Talked about a new mystery man she was seeing whose identity she couldn't reveal, of course, gave unsolicited dating advice, and, yes, again, went live on Instagram. This time she even tried to do a fit check of all of us, spinning the camera around while saying, girls' night energy. Riley turned her face away. I gave a deadpan wave. Jess smiled like nothing was wrong, But everything was wrong. We couldn't talk freely. We couldn't vent, share, gossip, be real. The energy was performative. Plastic. Like our cozy little ritual had been hijacked and rebranded as the Tina Show. The fallout aka the talk. The next day, I texted Jess. Told her we needed to talk. We met for coffee, and I just laid it out. I told her I felt blindsided. That girl's night was sacred to me. That bringing Tina without warning was hurtful. That I didn't trust Tina to respect our space after everything. Jess sighed. Said she just wanted to avoid girl drama and thought we could all just coexist. But then she dropped this. You can't gatekeep the friend group forever. People change. Circles get bigger. That one stung. I said I wasn't gatekeeping, I was protecting. There's a difference between cliques and boundaries. We're not in high school, but that doesn't mean we have to let in chaos just because someone wants a seat. Jess didn't exactly apologize. Just said she didn't think it would be a big deal, and that maybe next time I could be the bigger person. I left that coffee shop feeling like I'd lost something. Not just control over girls' night, but maybe part of the bond one had with Jess. And now, Riley and I are still tight. She texted me the next morning, never again. Next girls' night, just us. Or I riot. But Jess. She's been distant. Not cold, but muted. No check-ins. No memes at 2 a.m. And on her Instagram? She's hanging out with Tina again. Brunch. Shopping. Manifesting main character energy dizzy sparkles, captions and all. So now I'm left wondering, is this growing pains? Is this me being resistant to change? Or is this what it looks like when someone you've loved as a sister, drifts? I don't want to be bitter. But I also don't want to let the parts of me I like, the loyal, drama-free, emotionally safe parts, get drowned in someone else's noise. This whole thing started with one uninvited guest. Now, I'm sitting here unsure who's even in my circle anymore. Final update, AITJ for not inviting my friend to girls' night after she stole the spotlight last time. So. It's been a few weeks since the last update, and I genuinely didn't think I'd be back here. I thought the dust would settle, friendships would find their natural rhythm again, and we'd all move on. Spoiler, we did not all move on. Let me catch you up. The other girls' nights. So remember how I mentioned Tina started hosting her own girls' nights? Yeah. That became a thing. A weird thing. Like, not organically, hey, let's hang out, but full-on curated events. Instagram invites. Filters. Brunch and vibes with the girls' nail polish sparkles, captions. She hosted one at a local wine bar and called it, The Real Housewives of, our town name, like we're a Bravo spin-off. Guess who showed up? Jess. A few other mutuals. Even a girl who once said Tina was a walking red flag in heels. At first, I brushed it off. I'm not the queen of all female friendships in our town. Everyone can hang with who they want. But what stung wasn't the gathering, it was the vibe shift. Suddenly, Riley and I weren't being invited to things we used to be. It was subtle at first. A birthday dinner we didn't know you were free for. A weekend lake trip that came together last minute, we saw it planned on Instagram 2 weeks prior. Girls I'd been close with since high school were posting selfies with Tina captioned, "Surround yourself with real ones." It didn't take a genius to read between the lines. The breaking point. Jess and I hadn't spoken since our awkward coffee meetup. No fights. No drama. Just silence. That changed when she texted me out of the blue. Hey. I miss how things used to be. Can we talk? I agreed. Hopeful. Nervous. We met at the same coffee shop. She looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. Like someone trying to hold too many versions of herself together at once. She told me straight up, Tina had been intense. She started making comments about me, subtle things, like, wow, Opie, used to be so much fun before she got judgmental, or, some people just can't handle main character energy. Jess admitted she felt caught in the middle. That she missed me, but didn't want to choose sides. And then she said this: I didn't realize how much I valued our space until I let someone bulldoze it. I cried. Not like sobbing, but that quiet, stingy kind of cry you try to blink away while sipping an overpriced iced latte. We talked for hours. Not just about Tina, but about us. How we changed. How sometimes, when a new person enters a group, you learn who's really aligned and who is just coasting on shared history. We both realized, we'd been letting someone loud replace something real. Where we stand now, we're rebuilding. Jess came over for a mini girls' night last week. Just me, her, and Riley. No fanfare. No Instagram. Just Thai food, wine, and the kind of laughter that gives you abs the next morning. It felt like coming home. As for Tina, well, her girls' night empire is still going strong, on social media, at least. But word is, a few of her new besties are getting tired of the drama. One girl texted me after a recent night saying, "Now I get what you meant." Funny how things come full circle. Am I still hurt? A little. Not just about Tina, but about the fact that someone so loud and self-centered could shake up years of friendship so easily. But I'm also grateful. Because the drama forced us to confront what we actually want in our friendships. What we value. What we'll protect. I learned that boundaries aren't just allowed, they're necessary. That you can love someone and still not invite them into every part of your life. And that your peace is worth more than someone else's spotlight. So, AITJ for not inviting Tina to girls' night. Maybe to some people, yeah. Maybe I looked mean or controlling or jealous. But if standing up for the safe space I built with my closest friends makes me the villain in someone else's story, I'll wear that crown proudly. Thanks for riding this messy train with me, Reddit. And to Tina, if you're lurking, we see you. We just don't need you. Stories number 25. When the metric becomes the target, a cautionary tale on being careful what you measure. This happened about 8 years ago, when I was still working for a North American Class 1 railroad. I worked in IT, specifically in a department whose primary role was to generate metrics and regulatory reporting for the Surface Transportation Board and their ilk. Most of our measures were inward-facing, though, covering such things as volume, dwell, revenue, and productivity. This story involves a problematic dashboard in the last category, specifically, a measure of the productivity of our unionized office workers. The managers loved it because it gave them a weekly graph of who needed corrective punishment for underperforming. Our toxic CEO of the day was all about punishment. They even had quotas to meet. It was in regards to this last one that I'll call him B made the short walk across to our building so that he could ask me about the metric. He'd just come from an uncomfortable meeting with his direct manager who showed him how he was the lowest performing employee on their graph. By a wide margin. His manager told him to pick up the pace, or he'd face potential repercussions, possibly even a 1-week suspension. B came to me because he knew I had access to the back end of the metrics, and he wanted to know what they were measuring him on because he was never not busy. Some important background on B is that he was a very senior, conscientious employee. He had as much experience as the rest of his group combined, and he came to me because we went back about 20 years from my time in the union before I moved to IT. The job of their group was to work the queue, that is, go into the failure queue of events that had cacked for one reason or another, resolve the issue, and allow the automated functions to flow properly. A couple of trivial examples would be a train lift failing because the cars had not been properly reported into the customer's track, or, conversely, they'd been reported in, but the customer had not electronically released them out yet. Because he had so much experience, B took it upon himself to handpick the really messy, time-consuming ones from the queue, ones where somebody had backdated events, and it took some faffing about to figure out what was wrong, and what needed to be fixed. Or where a conductor took all the paperwork home and forgot to update this tablet with the switching that he'd done. Basically, if it was something that might require phone calls and deep research, he would deal with it rather than let inexperienced folks struggle with it. I pulled up a pre-production version of the dashboard and scrolled through the source code to find the important bits. We discovered that it was looking for clusters of specific event types reported under an employee's user ID with at least a 2-minute gap between the clusters. He was puzzled over the last requirement, but I explained that it was so that a single train being processed would only count as one event. It might take a few minutes to fix the train, but the reporting was at the car level, and as long as no more than 2 minutes elapsed between the report on one car and the next, it would all count as a single incident to the dashboard. So, it doesn't look at how many records you handle, only that they happen more than 2 minutes apart. He paused for a moment before adding, "That's really dumb. They don't care about complexity. They're seriously just counting how many times a person clicks OK. Somebody could game that pretty easily if they wanted." HM. He walked away without saying anything else, but I could see the mental gears turning. He came back to me a couple of weeks later to give me the good news. He'd gone from being the most underperforming person in his group to being their top employee by just as big a margin. "It's great," he told me. "Forget all the complicated shit, I'm just grabbing the biggest trains from the queue." I work one screen of cars, then sit back and drink my coffee for exactly 3 minutes before I process the next. I finally have time to complete the crossword puzzle in my paper. Sadly, the company attributed his miraculous turnaround to their draconian discipline practices, and never clued in that while their numbers went up, their actual productivity had tanked a bit. The only real consequence to him was that his job became a lot easier, and he got to slide into retirement on a high note. Stories number 26. Fiancé's friend invited him to a destination wedding but didn't invite me. Foul friends. My fiancé's friend got married earlier this year. She invited him to a destination wedding which would have cost $2,000 to $3,000 to attend but not me, although we've been engaged since last year and we've met a couple times. When my fiancée reached out to check if I was also invited, she sent an e-invite, so it's hard to tell. She told him, "We only have a seat for you, but she can come and explore the city if she wants, just can't come to the wedding with you." When fiancé RSVP'd no, she asked why and said she was very excited for him to attend and was hoping he would bring his camera so he can take some pics during the welcome dinner. My fiancé has been shooting for more than a decade as a hobby and would often shoot for friends and family at events. Fast forward to now, we're planning for our wedding and we invited her and her husband. I was okay with this because my fiancé didn't tell me about what she said to him about her wedding. Just earlier today I was chatting with him and he told me what she said. I told him it sounds like she only wanted him there as her photographer for the welcome dinner. He has asked him to take pics on her birthday, engagement party, etc. as a gift before. He agreed. He then said he now wonders if she's a genuine friend because she's made jokes on multiple occasions about him not being a real doctor, because he's an internal medicine doctor and not a specialist or a surgeon. After hearing this, I think I'm going to uninvite her and her husband. I don't tolerate anyone who treats my partner like this. Stories number 27. My MIL acts like this is her house and my husband just lets her. Good day, people. Just need to vent and also some advice. I married a guy who's got a soft spot for his mom and I didn't think that'd be a problem at first. I mean, we all want to love and respect our parents, right? I thought it was sweet. But sweet turned into suffocating real quick. We had a baby last year and since then it's like she's decided she's the third parent. She's constantly over. Rearranging my kitchen. Folding laundry I didn't ask her to touch. Telling me how to feed the baby. Saying stuff like, "Oh, he's crying because he misses grandma," like, "No, Karen, he's crying because he's a baby and he's tired." I try to draw boundaries and somehow I'm the one being rude. My husband always says the same thing, "Just let her help, she just wants the best for us." I don't feel like I'm living my life anymore. It's like I'm stuck in a weird roommate situation with a woman I didn't choose. She comments on everything. My parenting, my clothes, even what we eat. She once swapped out all our snacks and said, "Now you have real food in the house." When I bring it up, my husband says I'm being too sensitive. That she means well. That she doesn't have anyone else to fuss over. Well, I'm not a project. And I didn't marry her. I'm tired of being the villain because I want to be the woman of my own home. I don't even feel like a wife half the time. Just a glorified babysitter while she plays queen bee and my husband bows to her every suggestion. I don't want a divorce. But I want a life that's mine. Is that too much to ask? Stories number 28. Parents that make their kids go to music lessons are not getting it. I 27 am a keys and vocals instructor for an after-school music program and have been for over 2 years. When I get a student that is genuinely interested in their instrument, I love to show them songs, talk about theory etc. It really does help me feel like I am making a difference in their life and therefore helping me find meaning in mine. When there is a student that is forced to go to lessons, man, it's rough. I do what I can, try to make games out of lessons, keep it upbeat, try to apply musical concepts to things they know etc. But there is only so much I can do. I have a job to teach an instrument and can't just have fun all the time. Parents who have kids not interested in music do not understand how inefficient lessons are, because your kid will not progress at a good pace if they don't practice. Even if you can convince them to practice, do you think they have the motivation to run parts through enough to understand them? They're probably sitting in front of their instrument making a couple sounds and then after 10 minutes go, "Mom, I'm done." During lesson, a student who is not interested will progress 4x as slow because of the long pauses between runs, lack of memory from not practicing, daydreaming when being taught, the list goes on. A kid with interest will know what they need from me during the lesson, and save stuff they can do at home for home. Ones with no interest don't have this trait. Take it from me, if your kid is not interested in their instrument, they will progress at 10% the speed of their interested counterpart. It is a waste of time, money, and will likely make someone hate their instrument and music forever. Please don't sentence someone to this. Try to find a solution even if it is switching instruments, instructors, or even school. If this doesn't work, cut your losses. Stories number 29. Aita for not getting my girlfriend a gift today, despite recent large purchases and her ongoing expectations. Hey Reddit, I 23M need some perspective on my relationship with my girlfriend 22F. We've been together for 2 years now, and we both live with our families, which is common where we are from. Our country's average salary is about $290 per month. My base salary is around $600, and hers is $230. Today is Girlfriend Day, which I honestly didn't know about until she brought it up, and she's really angry because I didn't get her a gift. She's been sending me screenshots of gifts her friends received from their boyfriends, implying I'm not doing enough. Here's some context. Recent gifts and spending. 2 months ago, her phone broke, and she was looking at a $150 replacement. I wanted her to have something really good, so I bought her a Pixel 9, which cost me around $900. I told her she didn't need to pay me back, but she insisted. We agreed she'd pay 30% of the total, and I'd cover the rest. Last month, she needed formal clothes for her office. Over 2 weeks, I bought her 3 sets of clothes and a perfume set. I even tried to buy her chocolates recently, but she told me to stop because of her cavities. I offered to take her to the dentist, but she keeps declining. The Girlfriend Day incident. We had plans to meet for dinner tonight after work. She informed me after I'd already left my office that her colleague had a farewell party. I ended up waiting around for 2 to 2.5 hours. After her party, I picked her up, and we had dinner. She was fine until then, but after dinner, she expected a gift. Earlier today, I even suggested, let's go buy some clothes after your office ends. However, she arrived late, and by the time we would have gone, the shops were already closed. Now she's furious and constantly DMing me those screenshots. Ongoing frustrations. Her job and money. She constantly complains about her shitty job and low pay. I've tried to offer solutions, like finding a less stressful job or even teaching her tech skills UI/UX so we could potentially freelance together. I'm a software developer, working full-time hybrid with 2 to 3 freelancing gigs. She rejects these ideas, calling them tedious and saying she wants to earn money the easy way. Time and work. Earning money here is hard. To afford the things I've bought her, I often work extra. This means I sometimes have client meetings in the evenings when we usually talk, and she gets mad, accusing me of not giving her enough time. Lack of reciprocation. I haven't received any gifts from her since my birthday in December. I understand her salary is tight, so I don't expect expensive gifts. My savings. Another reason I hadn't bought her something today is that I've been saving my freelance money for a new MacBook Pro M4 Pro with a price tag of around $1,600, which she knows about and is a significant purchase for me. Honestly, I'm at my breaking point and considering ending the relationship. I've tried talking to her about these issues, and she acts like she understands, but the very next day, it's the same "you won't give me any time" argument. Am I the asshole for not buying her a gift today, given everything I've already done, the financial context, and our 2-year relationship? Or are her expectations unreasonable? An entitled driver blocks 2 parking spaces, and gets a hefty fine. This incident took place last year in my apartment complex. The building consists of condominiums, and each resident owns their private parking space. One evening, I returned home from work to find a BMW parked diagonally across both my spot and my neighbor's. I was sure the car didn't belong to any resident, and even if it did, nobody would just take someone else's spot without asking. To double-check, I asked my neighbor, but he had no clue who the driver was either. The real kicker. The driver had removed his license plates, which made me think he either planned to stay there long-term or knew these were private spaces, clearly marked as such, and didn't want to be reported. In my country, the license plate number is also printed on the vehicle inspection sticker, not sure if this is standard everywhere. So, I called the police, who used the number from the sticker to track him down. About 15 minutes later, the guy showed up, and was slapped with a €450 fine. Justice served. Update: the entitled BMW driver tried it again, and it backfired even worse. Remember that entitled driver who parked his BMW diagonally across 2 private parking spots, removed his license plates, and got hit with a €450 fine? Well, guess what? He actually came back, and this time, things got even messier for him. A few months after the first incident, I spotted the same BMW parked horizontally across 3 spaces near my building. And once again, no license plates. At this point, I couldn't believe the audacity. Did this guy not learn his lesson? This time, I didn't even bother waiting. I immediately called the police and gave them the inspection sticker details. But here's the best part: while we were waiting, another resident, whose spot was also blocked, recognized the car from last time. He was furious and decided to take matters into his own hands, by calling a private towing company. By the time the police arrived, the BMW was already being hauled away. The owner showed up just in time to see his car being loaded onto the tow truck. The police still fined him, another €450, but now he also had to pay €300 plus in towing fees to get his car back. Oh, and as the tow truck drove off, one of the officers casually said, "Next time, maybe just park like a normal person." Final update: the BMW driver's revenge backfires spectacularly. You'd think after 2 fines and a tow, the entitled BMW guy would finally learn his lesson. Nope. A few weeks ago, I noticed the same car speeding recklessly through our complex's parking lot, still with no plates. This time, he wasn't just blocking spots, he was peeling out like he owned the place, nearly hitting a kid on a bike. Fed up, I called the police again, but before they arrived, something even better happened. One of my neighbors, a mechanic, recognized the car from the previous incidents. He casually walked over, popped the hood when the driver wasn't looking, and disconnected the battery. Then he walked away like nothing happened. When the BMW owner came back, his car wouldn't start. He was fuming, kicking his tires and screaming into his phone. By the time he called a tow truck, the police showed up, and things got even worse for him. Turns out, driving without plates is one thing, but operating an unregistered vehicle is a much bigger offense. The cops impounded the BMW on the spot, and since he had multiple prior violations, they also suspended his license. As they hauled the car away for good, the officer turned to me and smirked. Some people just never learn. Moral of the story: if you're gonna be an entitled jerk, at least don't be stupid about it. 1. The Range Rover that stole a disabled spot, and paid the price. At my local grocery store, there's always one entitled driver who parks in the disabled spot without a permit. Last week, a shiny black Range Rover pulled in, blatantly ignoring the blue markings. What the driver didn't notice: a traffic enforcement officer was already writing tickets in the lot. As the well-dressed woman stepped out, the officer immediately stopped her. Her excuse: "I was just running in for 2 minutes." The officer wasn't having it. €500 fine. But it got better. As she was arguing, another cop car pulled up. Turns out her expensive SUV had unpaid parking tickets from 3 different cities. They booted her wheel on the spot, and she had to call someone to pick her up while her car stayed locked in disgrace. 2. The sports car that blocked the fire lane, and got a free paint job. At my gym, there's a guy with a bright red Porsche who always parks in the fire lane because he doesn't want door dings. Everyone hates him, but management never does anything. Last Monday, the fire department happened to be doing a surprise inspection. When they saw his car blocking access, they didn't just ticket him, they used the fire hose to test water pressure right next to his car. The result? His Porsche got drenched in muddy water, and because he had left his sunroof slightly open, the interior got soaked too. The best part? The firefighters shrugged and said, "Oops. Shouldn't park there." 3. The van that took up 4 motorcycle spots, and lost its wheels. At my office, we have a small parking area reserved for motorcycles only. One day, a delivery van driver decided those rules didn't apply to him and parked sideways, taking up 4 bike spots. When bikers complained, he just laughed and said, "What are you gonna do, move me?" Turns out, the answer was yes. A group of bikers lifted his van, it was a smaller delivery truck, and turned it sideways, so it was now blocking the entire lane. When the driver came back, his face was priceless. Not only was he trapped, but the building manager fined him for unauthorized parking, and since he was now blocking traffic, the police towed him. Bonus mini story: the Audi that tried to skip the gas line. At a crowded gas station, an Audi driver cut in line, ignoring everyone waiting. When he smugly got out to pump his gas, the guy he cut off calmly walked over, swiped his card from the pump, and cancelled his transaction. The Audi driver had to get back in line, this time at the very end. Event company took about $2,000 of paid for wine gifted to staff to put back in inventory to be sold for a second time. I work in an event department. We had a large company special order cases of wine for their event that were prepaid. When they pay for special wine up front, the wine is theirs to take home. After the event, we had all of the leftover wine in a room for them to pick up. The company took the wine that they wanted. The host came up to myself and the closing manager and stated they had taken all they wanted, and she was gifting the rest of the wine to the staff, about 6 cases worth. Most of the staff that had worked had already left. My manager said to leave all the wine in our storage area for our GM to divide up in the morning. When I came in today, I asked if we were going to be able to take the wine home today. Where I work, management has to give written approval for items like that to be taken off property as proof the employee isn't stealing. HR would not give approval for us to take the wine. They made the call to put it back in inventory, even though it's already been paid for, and sell it a second time. This feels like stealing. The host expressly said it was a gift for the staff. To me, it's the equivalent of them tipping us and the company deciding to keep it for themselves. Is any part of them not letting us keep the gift illegal? They already made their money off it once. Is it legal to take back inventory already paid for and sell it again? HR was the one who made the call, so I'm not sure who to go from here if it is wrong what they did. I'm not even a huge wine drinker, to be honest. For me, it's more about the principle of taking something away that is intended as a gift for your staff and then turning around and selling it for a profit, when you've already profited off it to begin with at that. It's left me with a very bad taste in my mouth.